let's just say you and your girlfriend were pregnant and you're happily expecting a baby, and someone came along and punched her in the stomach a few times and killed the baby. Would that be a murder then, or is that just...
Yeah, that would be a murder. If someone come and punch your pregnant wife in the stomach, someone punched them.
So hold on. So it's okay. Hold on. So your girlfriend can kill her baby, and that's not murder. But then if someone else punches her in the stomach, then it is murder.
Yes,
that's what you're saying.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you explain that to us?
You should be able to have an abortion if you want to. I mean, 8 months is a little bit far. I think there should be a cutoff.
2 months.
What? Say
2 months.
2 months? Actually, is 2 months the first trimester, or how many? What's the months related to trimesters? The first month is 2 trimesters, or first trimester is 2 months. Is that correct?
Up to 3 months is the first trimester.
Okay, so 3 months.
Let's say it's 2 months in.
But that's just in the middle of nowhere. Is it the first trimester? Or is it the second trimester? Or is it the third trimester?
We need a person with a uterus to answer this question. So
I'm not from here. So
you're not? Okay.
No, I'm sorry.
If a woman was a couple months pregnant, very excited about having her baby, and someone were to punch her in the stomach a few times and cause a miscarriage. What do you think that person should be charged with?
Oh, that's a good question.
Is that
I don't know.
Murder then?
Possibly. You said what? A couple months?
Couple months.
So that's really. I like how you put that one question after the other about abortion.
Is having an abortion in like the first trimester, is that a murder, or is that just an abortion?
I feel like it's just an abortion. Once the birth goes on until a certain point, you can't have an abortion because that.
So in the first 2 months or so, you think that's okay? It's just an abortion.
Because not all people are allowed to. Well, not allowed, but not all people can. What am I trying to say here? Can support a child on their own. So if you made a mistake of getting pregnant, why not fix it?
So if your girlfriend or wife was 2 months pregnant and somebody decided to punch her in the stomach a few times and cause a miscarriage, should that person be charged with murdering your baby?
That person, yes, because that's not a self-conscious abortion. That is just.
So she can murder her baby and it's not murder, but if somebody else,
it's not murder. As long as it doesn't
wants to kill the baby, then that is murder. I'm not following you.
As long as it doesn't have a heartbeat yet, it's not murder.
Okay, so you just said that the person should be charged with murder, so now they shouldn't be charged with murder? Let's say one of your bros is like, man, this guy can't be having a kid. We still need to party. And he punches her in the stomach a few times to kill the baby. Is that murder now or no?
That is murder.
It is murder.
Yes.
But it's not murder.
Assault. That's a battery, aggravated assault.
Battery.
Murder. Well, that's just racking up charges right there.
So how is it murder, though? If she can kill the baby, you said that's okay. But let's say
within the first few weeks, if she has sex one night and gets impregnated.
This is a tough one, I know.
If she gets impregnated on night A, right?
No, we're talking. We're already talking 2 months in.
Morning B, she takes the Plan B pill.
Totally a different subject.
It has
actually stops
no heartbeat whatsoever.
Oh my gosh.
And it's not murder.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Tuesday, January. Sometimes when history's staring you right in the face and you're so close to something so big, you don't tend to realize just how important a player you are all in. This huge fight for liberty. None of us do. At least those of us that aren't arrogant narcissists who only want to run around and basically behave like a bunch of peacocks. No, I have a mission-driven life, and I want to defend liberty. But I'll be quite honest with you. I've been so close to this problem and this information for so long that it only dawned on me this morning and then the magnitude of it was so big that I don't even feel worthy of giving you this information. That's why, it tends when something's so huge, so massive, so breaking, I tend to almost hold back sometime because I just can't even imagine how I'm supposed to announce and roll this information out. In fact, I had guests coming in here at 11:30. I want to move those guests to noon or whenever you're listening in rebroadcast to the next hour, because I need to just really focus and think about what I'm going to say here. I'm not somebody that goes off notes, and this is so big, and I tend to just go over all my documentation instead of just getting into the big statement itself. We kind of get lost in all the proof, don't we? The proof's all right here on air, everything you've seen. The allegory I would use would be like Ender's Game. Never read it when it was a book. My sister was into the books. Then I went and saw the movie, and it was okay, but the whole preface is what I find to be interesting, just as an archetype, that this wargamer kid doesn't know at the end that he's actually battling the enemy. Because they wanted him to just completely get into the zone of fictional war play until he was actually in it and didn't know that the whole time he's going out to the edge of the galaxy fighting and then, of course, genociding the enemy. And quite frankly, I got involved on air because I really wanted to warn people. They were coming for our guns. They were stealing farmer and ranchers' property under environmental guises. They were doing a lot of corrupt stuff. I saw personally when I went to college, all they did in every class I had at community college was badmouth America, badmouth white people. These were white professors, all of them. And just talk about the overthrow of our republic and how horrible free market capitalism was, except for one black lady who was teaching basically remedial algebra, because I was good at everything else, straight A's, but math. And I was having to get ready to try to get my scores up so I could actually, then place and get into UT, which later I started the process of and did, but that never went. The point was, this black lady, it was a true activist. I forget her name. I'll go dig it up. She was a really nice lady, and she'd been to Africa several times on aid missions, and she said, all this leftist stuff's a bunch of bull. It's much more sophisticated than that. Is to control everybody. I know you're all hearing in these classes all this stuff about, how bad white people are and, how we're doing all these bad things. But she goes, you need to go to Africa before you really see what's going on. And she was just talking about how it was all culture warfare and how the leftists were basically just another arm of the same system. And even at 18 years old, 19 years old, I wasn't fully getting what she was saying when she was just so disgusted with the entire place because it was a brainwashing laboratory. A brainwashing laboratory. At the bottom of the hour, I'm going to break the big news. I'm going to tell you the history of what's happened with the hacks of the DNC. I'm going to tell you what's happened with the hacks with Hillary's server. I'm going to break it all down, and then I'm going to go over the facts of it. But starting about a year ago, I had folks that are currently and formerly high-level in different intelligence agencies on record and off record correct me. So much of what you're going to hear at the bottom of the hour, you've already heard here on the show in pieces. But we really should put it up there in lights for everybody. Hell, this message should be up on the side of the Goodyear blimp. And then what Obama's currently doing in the last 16 days, what they're going to attempt to do once Trump gets in. InfoWars really is the place where the highest level factual real information is released. There's a lot of other good information at Drudge and Zero Hedge and Breitbart, but we really are it. We're the best there is. And I don't say that out of some position of a power trip. It's the opposite. It makes me get short of breath because I'm somebody that can speak to a crowd of 10,000 people and not get any butterflies. I'm somebody that has a lot of confidence. But when it comes to doing the right thing and like doing, I guess, brain surgery on a little kid, they say brain surgeons have one of the lowest life expectancies, incredible heart attacks, incredible stress, because it's so microscopic what they're doing when these huge scopes they're looking through, these microscopes basically, that any wrong move, they're going to brain damage or, kill their patient. And it's that same feeling of, wow, this is really dangerous. This is real. This isn't movies. This isn't spy thrillers. This isn't, the days of the Condor or whatever. This is the real deal for Western civilization and the whole future, basically, of humanity. And all of us that are the InfoWars family are just the focal point of the resistance. I'm part of the focal point, like a composite eye on a dragonfly. You're a part of the composite eye. All of us together with the activism and the focus and Americana, we are the remnant. We're what's left of what they tried to exterminate culturally, spiritually, genetically, everything. And it's going to be our job to return the republic, or at least desperately in the next 30 years battling AI and the globalists. It'll be our job to make sure that this remnant makes it through that level to the next remnant, because all that has to make it is a remnant of humans that are truly intact, not completely genetically mutated and poisoned and dead. If we get 1,000 of us through this thing, we're going to win, as long as the species makes it out of its greatest challenge it's now facing. Now, that's part of a whole larger issue. But I do have the sense of the long game, the long war, and I'm not a selfish person, because I'm the most selfish person you'll ever meet. Let me explain that. I will lay down my life to see humanity make it not be scum, and I believe in the species. And I see the globalists demonizing and putting us down 24/7, and I'm sick of it. And I know their spirit, I know who they are, they must be defeated. I'm selfish for my children and your children and their great-grandchildren together into the future, so that we can continue the amazing experiment of men and women loving each other and merging their genetics and creating new beautiful creatures with wonderful souls, and all the discovery and all the amazing things and all the love and all the passion. I want it to go on and on and on, because I know there's eternal life in our species and in our genetics as long as we succeed as a species. I fear the death of the species so much. I have no fear for my life. In fact, I have to control myself, and just because it's the opposite of fear. It's total will to defeat the enemy. And it's so empowering, I can't even contain it. And it's that spirit that we're releasing on the enemy. And I'll just tell you, I've sat there and talked to Trump before I said that to him. He said that to me. Incredible. The real Donald Trump. And people are going to see that. They're going to see the spirit of justice and of prosperity turned loose. And that's why the enemy is freaking out, because the enemy knows. And I've got to hand it to Trump, the way he cloaked this long. He's just a master to counter these dark sorcerers. And they're scared. They're scared. They're real scared. And they should be. Because Trump and myself, people like Drudge, we're all just the first big wave. Stuff's coming after us real fast as the spirit rises that is going to absolutely devastate the enemy. But let me give you a warning. The enemy is going to turn loose some stuff as well. We're going to see their champions stomp out on the field. So get ready. I'm going to break down what's really behind WikiLeaks, the whole compendium, the battle inside the intelligence agencies, what's going to happen if Obama tries to block Trump, and everything at the bottom of the hour in T-minus 13 minutes. This is the most important broadcast I've ever done. You'll want to stay with us. 16 days until Trump's seated as president, elected in a giant landslide, totally won the popular vote, totally won the electoral. They stole 5 states. We caught them in, probably more. Tried to steal 5 others, but the 5 states caught Homeland Security breaking in the 5 states and blocked them. That's all come out, but not on the national news, because it's not news. It's enemy propaganda. Now, I got up this morning and saw that Julian Assange, also I saw it last night as they were promoting it for Hannity tonight, had come out and said, look, unequivocally, our source is not Russian. Now, I happen to know the multiple sources that Assange has. When I say I know the sources, I know that multiple sources in U.S. intelligence, but also in NATO, and also right out of the United Kingdom. I mean, he's got so many sources it'll make your head spin. He's got duplicates. He's got everything. It's so much stuff. 1,000 people couldn't go over it all. That's why he has all these different journalists that are helping him. And let me just give you a news flash. Some of them are operatives, the ones that turn on him, the ones that say, don't worry about his safety, he's fine. Greenwald people are for real. You can tell they're for real. Losing their jobs, having folks come after them. But when you sit there and you see the overall picture, clearly Assange is totally surrounded. The guy has amazing courage. But I've been told for over a year by multiple high-level sources exactly what's going on. And then so many times it comes true just like they said. And then I have my other sources and our own back channels. I mean, we broke what really happened in Benghazi. We don't, but we're always so busy covering the next big issue, we don't give ourselves credit, which we should give ourselves credit so people understand that Cy Hirsch came on this show and thanked us and our sources and our work for the last 4+ years exposing what happened in Benghazi. That's a Pulitzer Prize winner. And why'd he do it? Because he wanted to point out, yes, you're on target and so am I. We need to get attention on this. Our military told Obama, we're not going to be part of this anymore. We're not going to back radical jihadis. We had a soft coup against Obama's coup. He writes about it in Military to Military and other articles and books he's written on the subject that just came out last year. In fact, just about a year ago, came out on January 7th, 2016. So when I come back, I'm just going to lay out the big facts of where we currently are. Then I'll flesh out some of the background and as much as I can tell you. But again, you get involved in this process and you don't even notice you're leading it. And I'm not saying that for credit. I'm saying so people understand you're going to get the absolute breakdown on what's currently going on and the war inside government. Look how it's all coming out. Leaked audio. Obama wanted ISIS to grow. 16 hours ago. Good. The leaks are starting. In fact, that's what, print that for me. And again, I'm so busy in the fight, folks, I can't even keep track of half this. So understand, keep sending us the emails, keep posting articles, keep making comments in the message boards. Help us too. People say, why aren't you covering this? Too much is happening. It's a war, folks. There's a fog. We're winning. The enemy is routed, but it's still a war and things could turn. Now, I've been saying the last week, and I really intensified it yesterday, basically hysterical for 3 hours. I said, you have got to leak everything you've got now in the next 16 days. 17 days yesterday. You got to hit them with everything. And I know what they've got. I mean, I know what some of the really bad stuff is. And I also know that it's very hard for my own safety to not just get all this out. Because as soon as I get it all out, I'm safe and my family's safe. This isn't a game, folks. You're not watching a movie here. This is the real deal, toe-to-toe with the globalists. Understand? People seem to think like news is fake, but then all the fake Hollywood stuff's real. No, mainstream news is twisted and garbage. Hollywood's fake. This is real. And MSM's been caught in a bunch of fake news. But I've got to say, I've been very critical of U.S. intelligence agencies over the years. I've been very critical of the military, as you know. But in the last 5-6 years, all of our complaining, all of our saying, do something, stand up, do the right thing, the military, the intelligence agencies have. They are the stars of this whole deal, doing the right thing, actually, and upsetting the entire New World Order. And guess what? Other agencies are doing it for their nation states as well. It's a very exciting time to be alive. It's epic, legendary to the next level. Legendary to the extreme. I mean, I don't know of new words to describe because we've never been through something like this. So I'm going to try to take all this data and just focus it down and encapsulate it on the other side. Tell everybody you know, tune in now to learn about the current civil war inside the U.S. government for the future of the republic. This came out a while back. The New York Times sat on the audio, but now it's been re-leaked. Obama wanted ISIS to grow. Secret speech, John Kerry, to the Syrian opposition. Of course, we already knew that. We reported that first. It's Tosh Plumlee, the most famous CIA contractor ever. Basically lost his job, got kicked out of it, and when he came on the show and got death threatened and got visited, and we're going to just stop right there. They did all sorts of other dirty tricks that I'm not even going to at liberty to get into here on air. That he basically had to live on a military base so they wouldn't kill him. And he broke what they really did at Benghazi first. Now, he already, of course, had other sources in NATO, in the military, in the Delta Force, you name it. And then, of course, we had Colonel Schaefer on 1 week after Benghazi laying out everything that happened. It all came out years later, congressional testimony. The stand-down orders, everything, giving the missiles to the jihadis, then transship them into Syria, everything. And now, there it is again. Remember Trump saying Hillary and Obama are the founders of ISIS? They even came up with the name at the White House. And that's our next story. I have been told that the information being held back by U.S. intelligence agencies, amongst many, is the actual memos and orders from Obama and Secretary of State Hillary to even create the name ISIS, Islamic State, to change the subject off the fact they were caught backing al-Qaeda because the name al-Qaeda was so shocking. You're like, Alex, you told us this 4 years ago. I know. That's what they've got in these leaks, and they're going to release it. That's one of the things. And that's why Trump's out there telegraphing. Oh, yeah, 9/11. We need to look at the Bushes of 9/11. Jeb drops out the next day. And then we have all this other just incredible stuff happening. Oh, Ted Cruz's daddy, CIA. Boom. Drops out 2 days later. What do you think? Trump's just coming up with this stuff out of a crystal ball he's got in the back room, and it all just keeps devastating him? Let's go ahead and play that clip. Here it is.
Then Obama came in, and normally you want to clean up. He made a bigger mess out of it. He made such a mess. And then you had Hillary with Libya. So sad. In fact, in many respects, you know, they honor President Obama. ISIS is honoring President Obama. He is the founder of ISIS. He's the founder of ISIS, okay? He's the founder. He founded ISIS. And I would say the co-founder would be crooked Hillary Clinton.
Now, the Kerry tape's up on Infowars.com. WorldNet Daily's picked it up. I believe Drudge has it. The point is that it's an hour long, and we're going to get some excerpts of it and play it for you. But this is huge. Obama wanted ISIS to grow, close quote. They didn't just want it to grow. It's al-Qaeda out of Saudi Arabia. It's an invasion of Syria. That's been declassified. And they sit there with this trillion-pound creature in the living room telling us we're stupid and conspiracy theorists when I have Colonel Schaefer, the former head of the anti-al-Qaeda operation, with over 1,000 people under him trying to hunt down al-Qaeda for 4 years. And I've had, you name it, congressmen on, Walter Jones, everybody that's seen the secret documents. And if you think that's high up, imagine who I talked to on the telephone. As high as it goes. And everybody already knows that. And I'm just telling you, folks, what you're hearing here is the absolute facts. They've got, you name it, sex crimes, pedophile airplanes, Epstein is the tip of the iceberg. Just the entrance to the rabbit hole of nasties. They're the nastiest people you can imagine. Drug dealing, white slavery shipments into the Middle East, massive drug dealing, just drugs that are poisonous being approved, they know are approved, testing lethal pathogens on the troops. Just, it's all. I mean, when Trump saw the stuff a few years ago from classified sources of what they're doing at the VAs, he literally goes into rages, okay? And I'm just telling you, they're in deep trouble when he gets in. He knows everything. He knows about 9/11, all of it, all of it. I've had former spy masters, current spy masters, all of them tell me, look, Alex, don't worry. You watch what Trump does. I had people approach me 4 years ago and go, Donald Trump, you know, he's going to bring down the New World Order. Really likes what you're doing. I mean, like, that guy with hotels, the guy with orange hair, because I don't watch mainstream TV. That was all just his cover, folks. And they are crapping their drawers. So let me give you the big news right now, because I got sidetracked with the other big leaks proving everything we ever said. On the al-Qaeda ISIS front, how bombshell is that? But that segues into this. The biggest news ever. Why do you think going back 4 years ago when they're doing the big invasion of Syria, calling it a civil war, just like they've done in Libya, the West starts a civil war with jihadis out of Saudi Arabia and other areas, but now in Syria, it's easier for troops to get to. They're coming in from all over the world. Jihadis from Russia, jihadis from America, the UK, Canada, Australia, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, Serbia, Albania. I mean, they're just pouring in for the big jihad to get their own house, get their own land. You come take The country, you get houses, swimming pools, everything. You get the businesses, the oil wells, everything that Syria ever built in thousands of years, you get it. Oh, but we're told about Israel having a few, 20 square miles or something they took. Okay, whatever. After we talk about the jihadis running wild and 5 million of them invading Europe and Merkel opening the borders up and we're getting flooded, after we've dealt with all that, okay, then we can moralize about Israel. It's ridiculous. Quite frankly, why is Israel even in Israel? It's completely surrounded by psychotic nuts that can't even get along with each other. But continuing, ladies and gentlemen, so Obama starts coming out 4 years ago and announcing that Russia is this enemy, and Russia has caused all this turmoil in the Middle East, and even weird stories, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, going, oh, they're behind Al-Qaeda and ISIS, but no one bought it, so they backed off. So there's a kernel of truth. I'm going to give you, just to be completely truthful, there's a kernel of truth to what Obama says from his perspective about the Russians have hacked America. You want to hear the big secrets? I'm just going to give them all to you right now. And you're going to go, wait a minute, this has already been in the news. I know, but no one puts it together. And then I don't just have the pieces together, I have all the sources. But it's complex, but it's also very simple when you pull back and see the whole thing. Our military was desperate 5 years ago. They knew the plan. Wesley Clark even came out and talked about it. He's a liberal. To take down these 7 countries using radicals, destabilize the whole Middle East, then flood Europe. It's a horrible, evil plan. It's a Soros plan. That's in the WikiLeaks. And again, so much of what you're about to see come out in the next few days is already in the WikiLeaks, already been brought out. Now it's just going to be brought forward again. And new information is going to be released every day as we speak. Get ready. You're going to see the dam break because Obama and Hillary broke their deal with Trump. They blinked election night. They were told, we got all the dirt on you. We know you just tried to steal these other states. You just stole these. We got people ready to come forward with all the evidence. We're watching you. We've got almost everybody in the agencies watching you. You really have screwed the pooch. You and your operatives are cut off in your foundations. Don't try anything. Everything's going to be released tomorrow if you do. And so that's why Trump said, sorry, we're a little late. A lot of stuff going on. A lot of things happening tonight. He'd been on the phone with Obama and Hillary's people. Hillary was throwing stuff, breaking things in a rage. We told you the next day. It came out weeks later. She had to be sedated. They were so arrogant up at the top, they thought all these intelligence agencies and groups would follow all the criminal orders. When they were given the plans to hack and steal all the elections, all they did was tip off the states. They weren't able to stop it in every state, though. This was an incredible battle. Folks, Trump won the popular vote by like 10 million. But they couldn't have huge numbers of blacks and Hispanics vote, and they had to give you fake numbers and say, oh, he didn't convince them, because they don't want blacks and Hispanics to have the victory and be part of this. So they had to put up the false narrative, oh, he barely won, and oh, he got a little extra blacks and Hispanics, but no, it was a tsunami. It was a gigantic victory. It was huge, ginormous. A total realignment, a total repudiation, and they were just, we just lost, we stole, you're going to release all the... And then they kind of hyped themselves up with Pelosi and Soros in the last few months to try. Well, let's try getting the electors. Well, let's try a recount. Well, let's try saying they're Russian spies. Because the truth is, the generals in our military, and again, I told you this 4 years ago, it came out Cy Hirsch a year ago. Again, we told you over and over again, proven Cy Hirsch, boom. But this is so huge. I'm going to lay it out now. Just there's so much background. There's been an internal civil war in this country inside the intelligence agencies everywhere. Obama and Hillary were so evil, so bad that even mercenaries and corrupt people said, we're not with these crazy people that want to kill prosperity and want to, domesticate everybody. And no, it's not happening. Americana's too sexy to let a bunch of chicken neck scumbags like Hillary walking around having seizures everywhere. I mean, that image of her squatting on us and basically marking her territory, peeing on us, just isn't floating, okay? America's not going to have Obama and Hillary and Madeleine Albright and all these people because they don't have power. They're nobodies. They're cowards. They're scumbags. We're not going to sit here while you pee on us. It's just not happening. So that's what's happening to you. So let me explain what's about to happen. And I told you this months ago, and I told you this yesterday, and I'm telling you again, but now I'm going to go ahead and tell you what the information is. It's how you tried to steal the election. It's how you created the name ISIS to confuse the public. Oh, yes, the Council on Foreign Relations private meetings that Hillary and John Kerry were at, You think somebody recorded those? You think somebody recorded those, Hoss? You think we don't have people everywhere, jackass? That's just some of what's out there. It's all out there. So damaging, it may destroy this country. But before you're able to strangle it for sure and destroy it, it's going to be released. All of it. So, you broke your deal with Trump, you weasels, because a lot of this probably doesn't need to come out. It's so bad. It needs to be reformed, taken care of. People need to be dealt with. A lot of folks need to get cancer. We're the real fast-acting type. They need to agree to it. But no, you're going to go on to the end. You're not going to stop. You're going to try to keep trying to sabotage things once Trump gets in. We understand that. We know you're not going to go away. We understand you're never going to back off. We get it. And so Santa Claus is getting a list. He's checking it twice for who's naughty and nice. And so you want to have a big fight? You want to have a big civil war? Fill your hand. Go ahead. You don't think everybody's been running around forever getting ready for this? You stupid, arrogant people. You'd hijacked the top of the country. You'd looted us. You'd robbed us 7 ways to Sunday, but you had to rub it in. You had to get up on TV like a bunch of megalomaniacs and go, and your kids belong to us and the state, and we ripped you off with Obamacare, and God, the public's dumb. A bunch of weird chicken neck Harvard guys having little wimp celebrations about how they destroyed America and how they were better than us. Yeah, you're about to find out. So here's the big announcement, just in total. It's a labyrinth of evidence. The globalists are losing everywhere. People don't want this tyrannical New World Order global government model. We're not even debating whether world government's good or bad. Let's just cut that out for academic reasons. This world government is nothing but a corporate looting arm, which admits it wants a post-industrial world, the end of nation states, only trade corridors, 99% of stuff collapses, and then the elites have high-tech city-states that are heavily guarded and controlled, and everybody else lives in squalor. And people say, oh, there's a movie about that. There's books, Hunger Games. I told you this 20 years ago. I put it in films 15 years ago. No, that's art imitating life, folks. Not life now imitating art. It's art imitating life. It's what's going on. So here's the big announcement. In summation, WikiLeaks and a whole bunch of other groups. WikiLeaks is just some branding name. And one major clearinghouse of folks that have been going over all this stuff and have the courage to do it. That's kind of what we are as well. But them to even a higher level when it comes to the documents themselves, because I won't touch the things. You start getting these real things, you start getting followed around, you start getting guys beating you up in parking lots. Start getting hit on the head, okay? So, it's not that I'm even afraid of that. It's that people didn't used to even care when I got secret documents, because I was just some guy on a few radio stations like, oh, yeah, that's not real. The point is Assange got big journalists behind him with a lot of credibility. And so now we're sitting here watching this total war with 16 days out. Obama and the globalists desperately want to keep Trump out of office. Globalism is failing all over the world. Nationalism and populism is surging. The elite in every major publication admit to themselves they are burning down in a day. Babylon's burning in a day. I mean, the next few years is like a minute in the scheme of human history. So a day is like a year. It's just amazing. It's so mind-boggling. So there's this war going on currently, and they've told him, okay, all this horrible stuff, we don't want to release more. Stop it, admit your beat, back off, let us cut the taxes, let us resuscitate the country. Just stop this ritual of abusing America for your own personal weird leftist mind control. Stop it. And they went, okay, we're going to stop it, and then came right back attacking. Behind the scenes and now publicly. And so when they say, oh, there's Russian agents hacked us, the kernel of truth is our military and our patriots checkmated Obama with the proof of this and said, you let us now take these groups out or we're going to release all the info. And again, Obama said, okay, I will, but then always sabotage the missions. It's the same deal. Okay, I'll back off, but then he never really does. So they've been through this 6 or 7 times now with Obama and the globalists. So the Russians said, okay, we'll talk to your military. Sure, we'll talk to your chairman of the Joint Chiefs. Sure, we'll talk to all the heads of your military. Oh, you want us to come in? You know we're already there. You know we're already losing thousands of troops every few months. Oh, sure, you're not going to give us a problem if Air Force comes in. Okay, we'll divide the country in 3 parts. We'll even go with your previous plan. Sure, we just want to stop World War III. Boom, we're coming in. They come in. And they join U.S. military forces now there who know everything they do has been given to the ISIS people days beforehand. So now the military started doing tests in the last year, giving false info back to the Pentagon, knowing they've got moles inside there from Soros, and then they're even using that in disinfo to get the ISIS people to attack the wrong spot. And they're like, oh my God, Obama is feeding intelligence directly to ISIS. Well, of course he is. Saudi intelligence and the Chinese intelligence basically runs that thing. We've got congressmen introducing bills to stop funding ISIS. We have Democrats coming out and speaking out as well. We have Democrats coming out and saying, oh, Obama, we got hacked 2 years ago in the big giant hack of all time. 14 million U.S. government's names, infos, code names, everything, all their operatives, total roll-up. There's no way they just got that. You gave it to them, didn't you? Oh, that's right. Oh, the Russians are getting us. Oh, the Russians. Obama rolled up our entire intelligence network worldwide, the Chi-Coms. That's why the intelligence agencies are in total war mode against Obama, because they realize it's a triple cross. And the enemy's got 16 days to try to stop us from restoring the republic. All right, let me get into the big news we're breaking that I'll then walk through the history of more into the next hour. And I've already broken a lot of it down. We have loyal people inside a lot of U.S. government intelligence agencies. The media got compromised. It got totally taken over. But because intelligence agencies had already been in the media since the founding of it, they could see the infiltration and the takeover. Then in the last 8 years, Obama completely sold us out to the Communist Chinese, the Saudi Arabians, and others, and launched a program all over the Middle East, Africa, Central Asia, Far Asia, you name it, to put radical jihadis funded by Saudi Arabia, as well as NATO, in charge. It's now been leaked. Even the New York Times is having a report on it. Obama wanted ISIS to grow, leaked audio. And that's addressing the Syrian opposition. So that's just an example of what we're talking about. Trump is right. Hillary and Obama are the founders of ISIS. They founded it because it's really Al-Qaeda to confuse the name. Now, the public didn't know what was going on, but our military did. They began 5 years ago, and Cy Hirsch has now broken this last year. We first broke it, but he confirmed it all. We had the direct sources from NATO, from the CIA. I mean, from low level and high level, we had it from every angle. And so the Russians basically came into Syria because the U.S. military said, we're telling Obama if he doesn't back off, we're going to release the fact that we know they've been funding him, giving him missiles, you name it. Benghazi was the last straw. Russia said, okay, we're going to come in. Russia came in. So when you hear Obama say that Russia hacked our election, they didn't physically hack it, but it's actually true in a way that America worked with the Russians, who were right next door to Syria, to come in and stabilize things because our military did not want to be part of evil. They followed their duty to fight all enemies, foreign and domestic. They did everything short of arresting or going after Obama. And then Hillary stumbling around, all of her corruption, the WikiLeaks info was all leaked from U.S. intelligence agencies, as well as people in NATO and the UK. They've had British ambassadors in the last 6 months who've met with the main leaker that represents the group currently in U.S. intelligence. We've had William Binney a year ago tell you that, former head of technical at the NSA, in this studio. So what you have to understand is the big news is this. Here's the big news. If Obama and Hillary try to keep Trump out of office, which they've been doing continually, with 16 days left, and they keep claiming that Russia hacked power plants to turn the power off on the East Coast, and that's admittedly a hoax and all the rest of it, if they try to escalate and try to cook something up to arrest Trump or kill Trump, which they're currently looking at doing, then WikiLeaks and others are going to release information that is Obama and Hillary and the CFR in meetings with Kerry and Hillary in the meeting with the CFR, basically telling Obama what to do, rebranding it as ISIS. Then I was told that by high-level Pentagon sources, some of them on air, like Colonel Schaefer, who has so much courage. You know the stuff he goes through when he comes on the show. I mean, he's threatened every time. And he don't want me to get into that, but the point is that this is serious business, ladies and gentlemen. Serious business. And so here's the big story. We're in a death battle for the Republic. All over the world, people are waking up to globalism. And WikiLeaks and others are about to release incredible bombshell info if Obama and Hillary and all the rest of them don't back off and let us restore our Republic. I mean, what upside-down world do you see the big leftist Julian Assange on Sean Hannity? Because they know that's a show that Trump trusts, and where they know they can get it to the Republican audience, who the Republican establishment is trying to manipulate right now into a war with Russia. We owe Russia so much for being sophisticated and working with our intelligence agencies and what's left of America to try to block this crazy globalist plan to turn Muslims loose all over Europe, all over the Middle East, all over Africa, all over Asia, which they've already gotten half their plan done. So this was a total global takeover with Soros behind it. That's in the WikiLeaks. A plan to end the free press, you name it, a total authoritarian takeover. And America and Russia, just like in World War II, is like coming to the rescue to block this evil empire takeover. It's incredible. And now these globalists know they're going to get in deep trouble if Trump gets in, so they're cornered rats moving against the Republic. We've never been in more danger. This is an incredible time to be alive. That's the big breaking news. Again, in the last 30 minutes, I laid out a lot of the history of what's happening. I laid out what's currently going on, and it's all just in public view. It's just amazing how accurate my sources were 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, right through to the last few days, that there is a major civil war going on, and that the leaks are from U.S. intelligence mainly. The Russians were behind the whole carbon tax leak because that was affecting them 6 years ago, and the whole UN treaty that was shot down in flames. And so they're attempting to have false flags claiming Russians are killing power plants. They're putting up fake videos on CNN. They've been caught. That's coming up. Running fake video of the Russian hackers, saying they have footage of them hacking to brainwash their mindless idiot viewers. This is just an epic time to be alive right now. And we have the leaked audio of Kerry. And you need to also retweet that, everybody, from Real Alex Jones, because it's so important. And we have Julian Assange to Hannity, source for WikiLeaks, not Russian. And Assange never comes out about his sources. He says that clearly, this is an attempt to delegitimize Trump. So again, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be going over all of this today in detail. Right now, let's just back to back. Let's play first Assange saying they're trying to delegitimize Trump. And then, which is clear, it's like saying the sky's blue. And then let's get into the next Assange piece where he lays out the fact that his source is not Russian for the big hacked emails of Hillary. Here it is.
Our publications had wide uptake by the American people. They're all true. But that's not the allegation that is being presented by the Obama White House. So why such a dramatic response? Well, the reason is obvious. They're trying to delegitimize Trump administration as it goes into the White House. They are trying to say that President-elect Trump is not a legitimate president.
Can you say to the American people unequivocally that you did not get this information about the DNC, John Podesta's emails? Can you tell the American people 1,000% you did not get it from Russia or anybody associated with Russia?
We can say, we have said repeatedly over the last 2 months that our source is not the Russian government and it is not a state party.
So, this is Hillary and Obama's last warning. The fact that Assange has come out and said it's not the Russians. The fact that he talked about the DNC staffer that got shot 4 times in the back being one of their sources. The fact that Obama is moving forward trying to start a war with Russia tells you how much danger we're in. They may start a major war. They're trying to sell one. All this war hysteria you see is just that. And what's crazy is the average liberal is really a low information voter who's super stupid. We all know. Every time you see a car driving slow in the fast lane, it's always liberal. They usually have a bumper sticker, on their car or whatever that says it. Because they're just idiots. They just buy into all the hype, and they're fighting racists and homophobes, and Trump's waving a rainbow flag. I mean, they don't even know what planet they're on, okay? And NPR is like the let's have war with Russia channel. And so they're all just running around going, Russian scum, infiltrated. Our country got taken over by a multinational combine financed by the globalists, financed by the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, Soros, allied with the communist Chinese, who were so arrogant, they chew Obama out when he gets out on the tarmac because they have deals. And the military told him, you're going to square up to China or we're going to release everything. So he's trying to placate the military and the Americana patriots while the Soros people are ordering him to do all this, to the point the Chinese say, get him off the back of the plane, and they chew him out on the tarmac. What are you, and they they hack us and steal all the data because Obama gives it to them. And they're blackmailing him with that, and they're just they steal the sub, and Obama grovels because they've got all the dirt on him. The Clintons have always been Chinese operatives. The Clintons are on the payroll of the Communist Chinese publicly. I want to salute all the patriots that are watching and listening to this broadcast who've been fighting tyranny for so long. I want to salute everybody out there that has been getting ridiculed and attacked for decades, exposing the globalist program, so that now, as they tried to go full operational, everybody had been warned over and over again and made fun of us, and now they know, oh, it wasn't a joke, it was real, and now the tide is turning just like that. And the weight of this is so seismic, so historical, it is bone-crushing. Liberty always trumps tyranny if we decide we want it. Now, I've got Q Carter and, of course, Patrick Riley, two of my good friends. They work here at InfoWars, with some big announcements here that was planned for weeks. But I'm going to recap the top stories, what's coming up, and then Dr. Steve Pieczenik, former head of psychological warfare, I'll just say it, it's not a secret, at the Central Intelligence Agency, not the State Department, is going to be joining us coming on. And, of course, he's obviously not out of the CIA. It's just time to be public about all this, okay? The point is, he wants to come on, he's going to come on. But I got a bunch of other sources, even more high-level than him, with the stuff, everything that's happening. There is a giant counter-coup going on right now against the globalists, allied with China and Saudi Arabia, that hijacked the country. They're trying to try a huge war with Russia. You've got a huge media war trying to suppress this, trying to shut up the American people, trying to bring in all this tyranny. And they're failing. So there is a civil war going on. They've got 16 days trying to stop this. They're trying to start a war with Russia. They're trying to openly shut down the free press. They've passed laws to do it. They're acting and behaving as if Trump isn't even going to be there, okay? And Trump knows that. But the good news is almost everybody in the 16 intelligence agencies knows exactly what's going on right now. They know the country's on its deathbed if we don't beat these people. So the delusionals, they call us deplorables, the delusionals, inside the Obama administration and their camp followers at the CFR need to know there are massive data dumps that make what WikiLeaks released before, their stuff 10 times worse, okay? You want to know what some of the stuff I've been told by multiple level sources is in there? Hillary being told what to do by the Chinese president. There's phone calls, there's emails, there's communiques, there's couriers. They've had it for decades. The Clintons are communist agents through Don Tyson and Tyson Chicken. That's what the Chinese are experts at, is infiltrating through business. They don't just get money from the Chinese. They're Chinese communist agents, okay? And I've been told that by people in defense intelligence, CIA. And, folks, I don't just mean like your low-level analyst or these, rich kids that go to Harvard or Yale and run around and talking to their sleeve and stuff. I mean the real people that overthrow governments, you name it. They're Chinese communist agents. They had a plan to double-cross America. They thought they had us. That's why they're so arrogant. Everything they do is a plan to demoralize us and make us feel weak and pathetic. It didn't work. Am I perfect? Is Trump perfect? No. Are any of us perfect? No. But the truth is we love this country, and we want to cut taxes. We want prosperity. We want to say America's open for business again. We don't want to make you poor so you're controlled. I am an individual. No agencies, no connections, none of that. Just a real person fighting for 21 years. And over time, because of you, the audience, we built the network of people with the intelligence and the understanding to take action anywhere in the world and to feed key information back through the internet to where now we see Reddit and the Donald and thousands of other sites and groups putting out even better field intelligence than what the government agencies can do. We're in a war, folks, and I studied information war and how communists and others have been defeated. And I simply took that on air, reading books myself, because I sat there in college hearing how bad America was, how our founders were bad, how guns were bad, how families were bad, and how we were going to be broken. And I decided 25 years ago that I was going to get on air and I was going to come after them. Well, now a lot of other people are coming after the New World Order. And the tide's turning, they're scared, but here's the problem. They're planning something big. That's why they need to know. I was told over a year ago that WikiLeaks had all this extra data and that if it didn't defeat Hillary, it would all be brought out. If she would have gotten elected or stolen it would have been released that week before she could even, get all of her news shutting down, the rest of it. Obama was going to start a war. They were going to clamp down on the press. They were going to do false flags. They had this whole thing planned. The problem is everything they do gets leaked. All their groups are penetrated. Their foreign merc groups are penetrated. The Islamic groups they bring in that the Justice Department orders FBI not to follow. The FBI is ignoring your orders. You are blown wide open. You're dead on arrival. You're bleeding out politically. The light's going out of your eyes. Realize you're politically dead. Back off now. Back off now before the real guns and hammers come out. You've only got a few days to signal this and then really do it. Because if you just signal you're going to halfway do it and then double cross like you always do, the hammer is out. It's over your head right now. Make one last move that's wrong. It's all going to be released on you. You understand? Now, most people are scared to get up on air and say all this. I will tell you what's really going on. And believe me, the White House is listening right now. I've been watching their body language, everything they're doing. They're scared because, let me tell you, what you just heard is the God's honest truth. I mean, the other stuff that reportedly WikiLeaks just got, it's just, you name it, it's there. When you read this, the stuff they've released, how nasty they are. I want to screw people over, make people poor. Oh, yeah. How do we make them desperate? Oh, yeah. It's like a bunch of demons competing with each other who could be the nastiest filth on earth. It's beyond any Hollywood movie you've ever seen. It is the worst of the worst. Imagine the best of the best creates a spirit of just being good and honorable and strong and winning. And they don't like that. These are little horrible creatures. Now, Dr. Steve Pieczenik is going to join us. And folks, he's really such big stuff on the show that the FBI shows up at his house or the CIA shows up at his house, says you better shut up. But now there's so many people, as he says, upstairs that are fully behind defeating the globalists now, that there has been a revolution inside these agencies to fully re-adopt Americana. It's not like they adopted something or Ron Paul or something that we just came up with. We never turned our back on America. I come from America. I didn't realize I just grew up out of what was left of it. I thought everybody was like this. And we're returning it. We're restoring it. And it's going to happen. And Russia knows that. That's why Russia's standing down when their airplanes are getting blown up every week. Their ambassadors are getting killed every week. Their diplomats are being killed almost every day. There's all sorts of stuff going on as they hold on, trying to stop a war. The Chinese may start a war in the next 16 days. That's why they keep giggling and going, yeah, he's not in. Yeah, it's something with China. They're like, listen, Michael Moore, you piece of crap. Stop trying to sit around and pretend like you're some master villain. That's Soros. Okay? Stop. But it's a bunch of Hollywood people and others playing God. I'm going to skip this network break so we have more time. And I'm going to just segue into something very, very exciting that we're going to break down here that I've been planning for months. We've got some B-roll we're going to roll. If you're a radio listener, you should go to Infowars.com/show. We'll also archive this later today so people can see it. This is amazing. I've never carried guns and firearms accessories and body armor and things because it's a minefield. It's hard to get the best stuff. And the top companies can sell so much that they don't want to deal with you. But because of what's happened in the election and everything we've done and the connections we have, a lot of major defense contractors that have been lobbying to be able to get this stuff to the American people are now working with InfoWars. And the next day, I'm going to announce 3 well, 2 of them are big contractors. One of them is the original producing Lowers. Everybody else copies here in the United States. But 2 of them are big defense contractors with contracts, you name it. And you're about to get stuff for the first time only available to the military now, to the people of the United States. And Quentin Carter has been instrumental with all his contacts and all his tours to the military in Blackwater previously and other groups and the rest of it. And, of course, Patrick Rowley's been working hard on this as well. We got one big announcement now. Later in the 3rd hour, another huge announcement that is just ginormous. But this one undoubtedly is the biggest. The future is here. Quentin, tell folks about it.
Basically, what we're bringing to the InfoWars team is a new line of dynamic, lightweight body armor. It's nanotube technology. It's created here in Texas. It is lighter, more flexible, easier to wear, more comfortable, and stronger than anything else on the market. We've went out and did some testing.
Obviously, they've been tested by the Department of Defense, everybody else, but we just did it for ourselves for people to see it. And, it's better than what they even say.
Right. We originally found their claims, saw what they said. We were all kind of hesitant to believe that something so light, so flexible, could be so strong. So what we did is we went out, we asked others in the community, other special operations, to do some testing with us, and they came back with high regards. So we went out and did it amongst ourselves. We used different pistols, different calibers to test different pieces of the body armor to ensure that it was up to the high standards that we expect to carry here at the InfoWars store.
And I want to just make a point here. This is a unicorn, but so is a cell phone, so is penicillin if you didn't have it before 1944.
Absolutely.
This is the Buck Roger development. This was developed in Texas, at the University of Texas, over the last decade. And I mean, folks, we're talking about stuff that cost $150 for the lower price systems. It's insane. So when folks are shooting these with what the Desert Eagle 50, and it's not going through. The Defense Department is getting them right now, and that's all obviously secretive. But because they're developing stuff that even stops high velocity, rifle rounds. Right now, this is for up to what's the particular variants of the
50 AE?
Yeah, 50 AE, and we were shooting pistol ammo through carbines, and it wasn't going through as well.
So when we originally were talking to the manufacturer and distributor, they were like, hey, the only people we're selling it to currently are law enforcement and border patrol. And we asked basically, can we get in this? We want to see it.
And we asked for the documents.
And it's one of those things that's amazing, you know.
I mean, let's be clear. This is National Defense Labs, and then their subsidiary.
Citizen Armor.
Yeah, they're only letting us sell this to the public because they love us.
Yeah, and it's one of... And again, you know, they sent us the video. Of course, you know, we saw the video. It's hard to believe on film. But
I cannot gush about this enough. People ask, what's all the secret stuff the military's got that nobody's heard about? And then it takes decades to get to the public.
No, I'll tell you.
This is it, folks. I mean, but what's insane is this is less than stuff that weighs 5 to 7 times more and does a better job. This is insane.
Now, Alex allows us to do some cool stuff frequently, but let me tell you, this is one of the funnest things I've been ever able to do. And it's one of those things that, I mean, heck, we're going to keep doing it. And as a new technology rolls out, we're going to blast it.
By the way, Pat Nevers a loss for words. He's doing a good job up here in front of about 1 million people watching probably right now.
I'm nervous, not.
No, you're doing a good job.
But the important thing is, why can I be nervous when I'm talking about products that are quality?
It's our lucky leprechaun.
Absolutely. You want me to get my suit on?
Absolutely.
But I mean, again, we've got all kinds of amazing products from Citizen Armor. We've got backpack inserts. We've got concealed vests. We've got tactical vests. We've got backpacks and hydration packs.
We have their entire line because it's only available from the Citizens Armory and us. And again, and again, they are just setting this up to begin getting it to the public. We are in at the very ground level. This has been around for over a decade. In all sorts of, let's just say, clandestine things, but now it's moving in to the rifle rounds and being able to stop that. In fact, that's what they're looking at. Something twice as thick as this basically stops any rifle round, but they're not ready to say that yet. But you put this in the backpack. It has the backpack inserts, $150 for the small. It's $175 for the medium, $200 for the large.
Correct.
And this is just insane. And let's be clear, this isn't one of these dummies that we've got when you're watching the video where you shoot it and it's cosmetic or rubber and it closes up. This is Bob, the MMA dummy, that, well, my mom had one because she was into kickboxing, and I shot it up at a test we did. And then she said, I want another one. And when I bought her a new Bob, and she didn't want it, she was out of boxing at that time because I guess she hurt her eye or something and got sick of it. So it's been sitting over there in the warehouse in the storage area for about 3 years. And so we got it. You took it out there. It's got one little knife when we were testing on it.
That's right.
And to be clear, the shirt on the other side, when we were shooting it with the pistol ammo in a carbine, which they claim it's not even rated to, was not going through. We had to cut out the slugs, but it did hit the shirt hard enough to make the shirt, the thin little tactical shirt, start deteriorating. So you'll feel like you got kicked by a mule like any other body armor.
But you won't be dead.
You won't be dead. I mean, it's incredible. Q, tell us about this, because I cannot hype how incredible, game-changing, over-the-top, insane, the low price, the fact that we've got the exclusive, the fact that they've got a huge factory right here in America, created and designed and discovered, invented in Texas. I mean, this is awesome. Born in Texas, made in America, exclusively available at InfoWarsStore.com right now.
I mean, it's unbelievable. It's a 1/4 inch thick. I mean, it's got a 20-year warranty. It's waterproof. You can wear it. It's comfortable. I mean, it's not bulky. I mean, that's the biggest, I think, intrigue for you, Alex.
The biggest thing for us is, unfortunately, we live in a society now where we need to be able to defend ourselves and our families at any time. And this is something that is so thin and so lightweight that we all carry.
What's it weigh, like 4 pounds?
No,
not even
2 pounds?
Less than a pound.
Yeah, very light.
So when we say regular body armor is 5 times more, we're just, what is it, 10 times more heavy?
The backpack insert is significantly less lightweight than a typical laptop that would go in your bag.
So what's the tactical weigh?
The tactical vests depend different ways. 6 pounds.
Yeah, maybe.
And by the way,
6 pounds.
we have their full line. We have the systems where you can add augmented plates if you want.
That's correct.
Absolutely.
This is the insert that we field tested at 21 feet.
And by the way, it's almost twice the size of the regular plates.
Absolutely.
That's right. I'm not small at all, and you can see it covers my entire body.
How big a deal would this have been when you were in Afghanistan, when you were in Iraq, when you were in Africa, everywhere?
Well, it would have made him 50 pounds lighter.
It would have definitely made it a lot easier to operate.
Yeah, how much body armor did you wear then?
80, 85 pounds on a regular basis. So to be able to change from modern steel plates to something so lightweight, breathable, and flexible. Flexible is the big part. To be able to move without having a steel plate that basically restricts your movement as a whole is the big difference. But this is something that your children, your family can put in a backpack. They don't even know what it is. It doesn't alert your child. She doesn't think like, hey, something's wrong. Dad put something in my backpack that makes it heavy. You can put this in a backpack. She doesn't even know what it is. He doesn't know what it is. And in the case that there was ever something goes wrong, they simply put their backpack in front of them and move out.
Absolutely. Well, I think you tell them, though, if somebody's running around with a gun, cover your head up. You know,
absolutely. And you tell them, you know, if there's something happens here and you're leaving there, leave your backpack on. It'll protect your back. It protects your vital organs. We shot this with a 9mm plus P from 21 feet.
The reason it has cuts in it is you guys cut. In fact, for TV viewers, there's some B-roll, but there's also audio we're going to play coming up. You can see where they dig the bullets out and cut the bullets out. It didn't even cut when it hit. It just goes and stops. And I've got some of the bullets right here.
To your left.
Where do I have them?
I mean, it's pretty cool. You know, sitting here digging it out with a knife.
Completely mushroom. Look at this. In fact, document camera right here, guys. Thanks. Keep going.
Yeah, so I mean, again, it's pretty amazing. As of right now, they're field testing new fibers that's going to potentially stop up to 308 rounds. I mean, this is how impressive this new technology is. Nanotube technology, super thin, a 1/4 inch thick, very comfortable to wear.
I want to show folks, this is what was shot through your, it's not an MP5. What's it? It's a variant?
It's a SIG MPX. It's an MP5.
It's a SIG MP5, not a HK.
Correct.
And I don't know all the different groups.
But I mean, look at this Hydroshock, right?
Well, I mean, look, you shot it completely mushroomed. I'd say 90% mushroom.
Correct.
That's because it's the rifle.
And the video doesn't lie. I mean, I hated to cut this up, but I love to see that it stopped. I mean, I could feel through the armor with my fingers that the round completely stopped on the outside of the armor. I mean, completely amazing. Bob wasn't hurt. Don't worry. Bob's safe. He's home back here at InfoWars.
Somebody stabbed him, though. I saw that.
Well, we picked the hottest 9mm plus P rounds that we could find. We shot it with Full Metal Jacket. We shot it with Hornady Critical Defense.
It even broke the Full Metal Jacket.
Absolutely. The 9mm and 40 stopped it at 21 feet.
Which shows that there was so much kinetic energy that the lead pushed through even the front of the brass when it ran to the nanotech tube.
And if you look at this, I mean, I don't want to.
We're always hearing nanotechs can do all this incredible stuff.
But I barely had to open this.
And that's the one thing. Don't cut yours up if you shoot it, because obviously you don't want to breathe nanotech, okay? The point is.
And again, it will stop. It will make you safe, and you will live.
This damage that was placed here is not any of it from being shot. That's from us wanting to recover the projectiles.
So 21st century's here.
It is.
Absolutely. Buck Rogers.
I mean, obviously, I've told you guys, and for years I've tried to get body armor companies, and it's either too much or we sell so much of it that they can't keep in supply, and then they use us to brand themselves, but then don't stay with us. We need to fund our operations selling things like water filters, body armor, seeds. Everything we sell is what we use that is the best that gives life.
And I think
this totally fits into that family. And then when I learned, Cube, from all your sources and contacts, that, you know, that these folks are patriots, that they want to work with us, this is a big deal. So I want to thank National Defense Laboratories for letting us do this deal.
Absolutely.
The other big deal is you're giving an introductory offer right now. We can't do this offer for long. I don't know how long you're going to keep this going, but these rates will go up, so they got to get them now.
Yeah, let's be clear that a lot of body armor groups put up 4 or 5 time markups. One of the deals was they said, we want this to be affordable to everybody. We said, hey, match made in heaven. You know, we want you to have a moderate profit. We have some profit. This is not marked up very much, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, we're talking $150. I mean, that's crazy. I see people charging $300, $400 just for the plates and a little bag to hang it around your neck. I mean, that's crazy.
I mean, look at this concealed vest. Look how low profile this is. We have a shirt that goes over it, like a little workout shirt. But I mean, look how thin this is. And
again, we have the footage of us cutting into this and digging the bullets out. Can we show that?
But I mean, again, show the good side. That's not too shot up. Again, look, that is very thin. And I mean, we
shot this up.
We were apprehensive when we saw this, even though the video obviously showed that it stopped the rounds. And then when we shot this, we couldn't believe that we were shooting in the exact same spot, the best that we could, from 21 feet away, and it stopped the bullets repeatedly, one after one after one.
Sure. Well, we have the B-roll too, because I know I saw it last night. It's at the end of the clip. Can we show at the end of the clip? It shows them digging the bullets out at the end of the clip.
You can also see where the round hit right here. You can see where it hit the foam. You can see where it started to penetrate the first layer of clothing.
Here, put it down here. This has better light.
And then you can see that it did not
what
even
amazing
penetrate
technology.
the very first layer
now,
of nanotech.
You guys are always calm about stuff and play stuff down, Q. I guess that's kind of the Army, quite professional way. But you said when you talk to people that have been using this, actually testing it for years, and people that currently tested it for us, they didn't just say outstanding. I mean, what did they really say about this?
No, this is through the roof. They want to know, how do they get it? Where do they find it? A lot of my law enforcement official buddies want to know the same thing because they're wearing these big, heavy, bulky vests that don't work as well. So they're looking for something you can wear all day, 12 hours a day, in and out of a car.
And 90, you can look up the numbers, 90+% of fatalities with guns when they're used in the commission of a crime, I think it's like 94, is pistols or shotguns. This stops that unless it's a slug. I mean, that's amazing. So they can wear this, and only somebody with a rifle around is going to get through it. And soon, and then we'll have it, if it's available to civilians, they're not sure, we're going to have the stuff that's, unstoppable, basically.
And as you said, we're walking through a landmine. We have people beating down our doors trying to get us to distribute and sell their products. And we don't want the regular stuff. We want the cutting edge, best of the best. By far, this is the most impressive that I have ever seen.
And it's less money than the other stuff out there that weighs 80 pounds.
We get tens of people calling us all the time saying, hey, distribute this product, sell this product for us. If it's crap, we don't touch it. This is the best.
Available at InfoWarsStore.com. Wow. Tactical nanotechnology body armor. Previously only available to military and law enforcement. Now exclusively available. It's been tested by the New Mexico State Police and a lot of others, and they are adopting it. And it's already being tested by the Pentagon, the rifle stuff, but they didn't want us to even get into that.
Well, and don't forget, you bought a bunch of backpack inserts for your family, put them in everybody's backpack.
And you're funding the info war that is defending this republic. Q, Pat, great job. InfoWarsStore.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. Great job. 16 days until the rebirth of the republic. Stock market's up $1.2 trillion. Now over $100 billion in new investment announced for just this year. And it's begun. Trump is now demanding all the documents about the open borders and who was given what orders for the stand downs and to pass people in that had leprosy and TB, which is a felony. And the new attorney general is going to go after them. Jeff Sessions. They are crapping their pants. And with 16 days left, they're trying to start a war with Russia. They're trying to turn jihadis loose all over Europe and the United States. This is a dangerous time to be alive, but also a very exciting time to be alive. I've got a lot of sources, as everybody knows. I'm not bragging. We broke the Benghazi first with Colonel Schaefer and many others, like Dr. Steve Pieczenik, Tosh Plumlee, from the guy on the C-130s to the guy, who's been high up in government agencies, you name it. We're going to him here in just a moment. But from my sources, and I mean a lot of them, and I've been getting this for over a year. In fact, I had sources over a year ago, Alex, it's not the Russians, because I was asking. They go, no, it's U.S. intelligence agencies. We even know who. Now we've had British ambassadors and others that have gone to New York, gone to D.C., met with the actual leakers. The leakers represent the U.S. intelligence agencies. Dr. Steve Pieczenik, who has his sources, obviously, was able to come on before the election and say, this is a counter coup. That is correct. It's happening. And now they're waiting. If Obama does much more, and if Hillary and Soros do much more, and they're crazy, if they do much more, then they're going to release Hillary and the Council on Foreign Relations with Kerry 4+ years ago, branding al-Qaeda as ISIS. They're going to release stuff from the last year where they've been caught commanding the ISIS forces and giving intelligence to them, which our military already knows is going on. It's all going to come out. Narcotics trafficking, money laundering, 30 years of the Clintons being on the communist Chinese payroll from the time they worked with Don Tyson, who was heavy in with the Chi-Coms as well. So you want it all to come out, Democratic Party. Look, you want it all to come out. It's about to come out. And the Republican establishment is just as bad. It's all the same group. They're trying to block Trump. You've got that weasel running around, the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, saying, I agree, it's the Russians. We need to get tough on them, and they might have helped Trump. This is the most treasonous garbage. All that ever happened was what Dr. Pieczenik said and what Tosh Plumlee said and what Colonel Schaefer said, and then all the folks I talked to off record, including generals that you see Trump putting in. And Cy Hirsch coming on here a year ago to give a nod to the audience and the rest of the media and say, this is accurate information. The only Russian operation that there's been was that our military and the Joint Chiefs said, We're telling Obama this isn't happening. We've been given tacit approval to block it because Obama knew he couldn't just give an order saying, oh, yeah, let ISIS run wild. So Obama acted like he was going to go along with this while the whole time trying to sabotage it. That's now come out. New York Times sat on it for a year. WorldNet Daily has it. It's now on Infowars.com. We can put the headline up there for everybody right now. Leaked audio. Obama wanted ISIS to grow. Well, hell, the CFR 4 years ago had the headline, Why We Need Al-Qaeda in Syria. Their problem was we were exposing it was Al-Qaeda, so they changed the name to their Islamic State. So, former head of psychological warfare for multiple agencies, a best-selling author, co-wrote books with Tom Clancy, you name it, produced Hollywood films. He's also developed a lot of great nutraceuticals. He's basically done it all. Another Americana Renaissance person, and that's Dr. Steve Pieczenik, who, again, has really laid out. I remember 6 years ago, he said there'll be de-evolution of the states. This whole globalism is going to fall apart across the world. It'll be dead within, 5-10 years, and it's happening. And I tell you, he was the first I heard that was this optimistic. It's happening now. I mean, it's clear the tidal surge has happened. A huge fourth turning is here. It's a mega turning, I believe. The establishment that is mentally ill, like Soros, just needs to go away. We don't want to have to bring all this stuff out. And I'm just an average citizen here who focuses on this. Like the average guy can be an expert on football or baseball because that's what they're into. I don't know anything about football or baseball now, even though I played, football and baseball. I used to, watch it and go to see the Cowboys play when I was a kid. I don't know anything about it. I know all about this. And you see, the agencies know about all this, and the military and the police and smart people are tuned in now. It doesn't matter if half the public can't find their ass with both hands. I feel sorry for them. The thinking public does and understands what's going on. So Dr. Pieczenik, again, is a psychiatrist, medical doctor, Harvard, MIT, the whole nine yards, been in all sorts of covert operations. One of the founders was General Boykin and Schumacher of Delta Force. And I've got all my other big sources in the military. They say, no, this guy's the real deal, rock star. And he doesn't like to hear that. You have to know the pedigree. It's like I was going to get Chuck Yeager on about 2 years ago. I got contacted by one of his family. He lives in Houston. He goes, Chuck likes your show. He'd like to come on. But he'd like to come on and talk about some of these issues he's having. And then his lawyer got involved, and then Chuck didn't come on, which is fine. Most of my audience says, who's Chuck Yeager? This guy that broke the sound barrier, World War II ace, all this stuff. So it's kind of crazy because I don't get excited meeting some Hollywood person. They're super boring. But somebody like Pieczenik, who's lived all this history, or Tosh Plumlee, that sat around drinking tequila and smoking cigars with Castro in 1957 when he was CIA. I mean, that's cool, okay? But it's like, just another old man. Well, this is such epic history. I haven't talked to you in weeks. I don't even know your particular view on this. I know we've got the same sources. It was you over a year ago said, Alex, it's not the Russians. It's the WikiLeaks has got more. If they don't back off, it'll come out. You were one of my sources. But now it's confirmed. They're waiting to release even more the next few days. If Obama and Hillary and Soros don't signal that they're going to stand down and stop trying to start a war with Russia and fake hack attacks they claimed had happened on the power plants last week, even MSM exposed the Washington Post and said that was fake news. So I'm now seeing a lot of MSM start going Trump's way, understanding that the Trump card is there, not just in name, but in reality. Now, I haven't talked to you in weeks. Is that accurate from your perspective, your sources, and where we are, the ongoing counter coup by the intelligence agencies and the American people against the globalist hijacking system?
Yes. To put it bluntly, it's quite accurate, Alex. As to the pedigree, let's just keep it. I'm an American citizen, a veteran who really cared about our country. And as I said before, it really started with 9/11, continued on with the Clintons, continued on with Bush Jr., continued with Obama. Obama came in as an affirmative action candidate created by the CIA, as I've said. He had no experience, he's had no accomplishments, and he has created absolutely nothing but a disaster around the world. Those people who worked with me quietly and those people who understood the integrity of the republic was paramount allowed me to say, we're going to do a counter coup. We were waiting for Hillary to do exactly what she did. I've said from the very beginning that Hillary was not as bright as everybody thought, nor were her advisors. When she fell into the trap that we said, and actually you said as well, that she's not competent, that she really has no idea of what she's doing, that she's physically and mentally not capable of being the president of the United States, she went after you. And that's exactly what we expected would happen. What was stupid was to really say that Alex Jones and the people behind it, i.e. myself and others.
Exactly, because, I mean, we all privately talked. That was our goal. I can't believe they took the bait, proving she shouldn't be president.
They did, Alex. And in the world of intelligence, quite frankly, that is pretty pathetic. That's what we call a jump shot. It was the easiest thing in the world. But more importantly than that, the people who I deal with, now remember, I do not get paid. I do not represent any official organization. I am simply a citizen of the United States. It's as simple as you can make it. They gave me the go-ahead to say, okay, we're going to dump emails that have relevance to Hillary, to Comey, to the CIA, and to a whole group of individuals who will be compromised. And I told that before it happened. The Russians were not involved in that. Putin has better things to do than to mess around with our election. He had nothing to do with it. And basically, it was completely created by those of us who wanted to see the integrity of the republic reinstated. And Trump would come in with a new way of dealing with the republic and with the people who were involved in a lot of chicanery. And as you see now, Trump did something no other president has done. He literally cleared out the Republicans who try to get rid of an ethics committee. Now, Julian Assange, I do not know him. I have never met him. I will tell you he is a patriot of this country. He allowed his services to be used by those people who I dealt with and who were concerned as I was concerned, and he was the venue. When he says repeatedly that the Russians were not involved, that no Republican or Democratic Party was involved, take his word for it. Now, I couldn't have come on to your show weeks beforehand to say, look, Hillary and the Democrats have created a coup. It's called a civilian coup. We, in turn, those of us who are concerned, I did not delineate any group or any individuals involved, will create a counter coup. How that came about was a surprise to everybody. And that was the leakage of all this email to you, to the country. But remember, you are the spearhead of much of what's happened. I know you don't like to be lauded, but it is true. Your show and your voice was an important element to spear our discontent and our anger through into something that was constructive. And the constructive part was to get rid of the corruption in the CIA, the corruption in the intelligence community, the corruption in the DNI, the corruption in the civilian sectors, and the corruption in Congress and in the candidates who were running. That happened. Now, what they're waiting for is Trump to really bring in the axe.
I understand, but let's talk about this point before you go there. And I believe Trump's going to try to deliver. They know he's moving to deliver. That's why they're so scared. 15 and a half days. Clearly, they're going to still try to go after him after that. From my sources, and I haven't talked to you about this too much, but I'd like you to get into the Hillary and the China connection. I know you can talk about that, or hopefully you will, that it's known. It got so outrageous that she was just like openly an agent of China on the phone and emails, you know, with the president of China, doing all this horrible stuff behind the scenes, that it just went too far. And then their decision to try to shut down the free press coming in last year, I mean, the chatter got so authoritarian that people realized they had to move. Plus the arrogance, as you said, the fact that it's known she's had the brain tumors, had them removed. The Secret Service says, just follow her around. She's falling down all the time. 1 month after we broke that, she fell down. They said, yeah, follow the black ambulance. Well, boom. Our reporters caught her falling down for over an hour or 45 minutes in Ohio. A week before she fell down, they're inside of a medical tent with them, running around with body armor and Secret Service. So, again, it's the insanity of King George III is what I'm seeing here. People had to do this, but expanding on that now, Dr. Pieczenik, just like I know before the election they told you, it doesn't matter, we're going to block this move, Hillary's going to win, they're going to steal the states. We probably talked about that, and I said it doesn't matter. The tsunami's going to be so big, they're going to block that. It happened. But I'm telling you now, because I know you're feeling confident, they're moving against Trump right now. Their body language, their behavior, everything they do, they've broke the deal. I happen to know that the Trump people talked to Podesta and, of course, to Obama that night. Trump said that when he took to the podium. There's been a lot of negotiation, a lot of things happening. They said, look, we know you tried to steal it. We know you failed. Just end it now. More WikiLeaks are coming out. Not that Trump's involved, but he knows from his intelligence sources You need to stop. They blinked, but only to get time to grab sand and throw it in our eyes and come back on the attack. They just bought time. Now, everything they've done is to block Trump, the fake recounts that only gave him more votes with their Jill Stein. They're going after the electors, all of it. Now they're saying the Russians are hacking power plants. Now they're saying get ready for blackouts during the election or during the inauguration. I'm telling you, I smell and see not just scorched earth sabotage as Trump about to take office. I see real moves and a venom now in their step and their eye that I think they're going to go for the jugular.
You may be right. I don't disagree. But when when one is incompetent like Hillary and those who surrounded her, well, and Soros himself, the what we call him the Judenrat, the Jew who worked with the Nazis, and you made that very clear. When you have those kind of people, we're not concerned because they've already been eviscerated. And when I say eviscerated, I mean intellectually, emotionally. The entire DNC is non-existent. They literally have no recourse to anything. They can do whatever they want. At this point of time, Trump talked to Mr. Slim, who owns the New York Times. What happened after that meeting? What happened after that meeting, the New York Times indicted and convicted this administration for having had the most severe suppression of writers and leakers that has ever occurred. In other words, the New York Times themselves came up and said, Hillary, Obama, and this entire group has convicted more whistleblowers, more journalists than all of the administrations put together. And in fact, one of the Washington Post editors who was involved in Watergate said that this administration is far worse than what Nixon was. So what you're seeing now is a counterattack to each one of those elements, taking down the New York Times, taking down the Washington Post, taking down CNN, taking down Fox. Now Megyn is going to, wherever, NBC, but they're not relevant. The most important issue that we have brought across, and you said, is the fact that now you have become the major voice of what is called the alternative media. In reality, the alternative media is the media, because the internet became our tool.
And that's why they try the psyop of saying we're fake news and have the arrogance to pass a law putting intelligence agencies over the FCC next year. But that only means if Obama would have gotten in or Hillary would have stayed in or whatever. I mean, that's not going to work when those very agencies know what's happening.
No, and not only it's not going to work, Obama has no legacy. What happened is we literally stripped him of any credibility and legitimacy, which he never had from the beginning. When he first came in, I said, this is a man who's created by the CIA, John Brennan, and a bunch of morons to compensate for the fact that the agency had brought us into 9/11 and that they were involved. So in their thinking, they thought a Muslim or a mulatto individual with no background and a history of homosexuality can be exceedingly vulnerable and controllable. They brought him in. He had no history of accomplishment, no history of having been anywhere other than with Peter Geithner in overseas in some posts. The truth of the matter is he accomplished nothing. The scandals that he incurred were phenomenal. Sandy Hook, Osama bin Laden nonsense, Libya. He created such a problem in Libya that today we cannot handle it.
And let me throw this in then. Let me throw this in. I totally agree with you. As you said, we see a sudden turn at the New York Times. They say the wreckage of Obama is now being swept away. As soon as the Washington Post, it's still being loyal to Soros, with Bezos attacking with fake news. MSM shooting it down now. And so we can see the real breakaway is now happening. It's very exciting.
Alex, again, I know you don't like to be lauded, but again, it goes to the issue that you and I have talked about and have been involved for over 14 years. When you see the predominant leaders of high-tech companies, including Jeff Bezos, sitting next to Trump, that's the kiss of death for anybody who thinks that they're going to attack Trump through the Washington Post. Similarly, Trump went to Slim, Carlos Slim, and that was the kiss of death with anybody on the Democratic side or the left wing to think that they're going to use the New York Times. So what Trump has done, he's very bright and very strategic. He's literally negated and obviated any ability of the mainstream media to come after him with any credibility. So what's happened is, thanks to your show and thanks to others, the media that's becoming alternative, i.e. the New York Times, the Washington Post, they're all attacking Obama. For the first time, I read that Obama is worse than Nixon in terms of Watergate.
That's right. The flip started, what, about a week ago?
Correct. It literally, that's exactly right. So you can almost calculate from the pictures where Trump is sitting down with others who is going to be co-opted, and in turn, Bezos was co-opted, Slim is co-opted.
So we see the Washington Post run a giant false flag on Friday, saying the Russians try to take down the East Coast power grid, and then within hours it's debunked by InfoWars and Drudge, and then MSM jumps on the back. Normally they'd say we were lying and defend each other. They're not doing it. Does that show maybe Bezos hasn't gotten the orders to his own minions at the Washington Post? Because we know nobody's got more CIA people in at the Washington Post.
Well, they may have CIA, but the key element here when Trump...
No, I know, but I mean leftist foundation operatives that happen to have a CIA name.
I understand, but the point is the CIA is irrelevant. That's why Michael Flynn has been put into the White House. That's why you're going to have a military man in the CIA, Pompeo, and you're going to have a military man as Secretary of Defense. It's not for us to go to war. It's simply for us to negate any of the nonsense that civilians who've never been in war, who have created war, will be neutralized.
Exactly. We've got a bunch of trendies trying to play at war, and they've wrecked the country in the process.
Correct. Now you got it. And that's exactly what happened with Bill Clinton, what happened with Bush Jr., affirmative action for stupidity and spoilage, a guy who had no idea what he was doing, attacked our own country to go to war in Iraq, which was a disaster. Now we have a bigger disaster. Obama has no idea what to do with 500,000 people that he helped to kill in Syria and 1 million refugees that he facilitated by his inaction and inability to think strategically and tactically. This is an indictment of Obama, his White House. His White House is, again, a repetition of the inept and happens to be affirmative action. Susan Rice, she's black. Valerie Jarrett, she's black. You go on. I mean, when you have affirmative action, whether it's for blacks or whites, you mitigate the issue of competency. If competency...
You're just talking about nepotism.
Well, it's not only nepotism.
It's like political nepotism. George W. or Loretta Lynch, these are obviously idiots.
Correct. But when you have that kind of nepotism and you have that kind of discrimination saying, oh, nepotism and affirmative action and being a woman is more important than competency, then you lose the credibility of the republic. And that's what I was fighting for. And that's what you were fighting for. And that's what our military men were fighting for. Why the military? Because like physicians, the military is socialized to be a profession. That is, you don't make mistakes. You just don't cavalierly send people into war so they can die. You have a guy like James Mathis who's called Mad Dog, but in fact, he's so far more intellectual than any other Secretary of Defense we've had. It's completely absurd. When you think of Gates and you think of Cohen and you think of Rumsfeld, these are morons. These are guys who were pathetic individuals who worked on the issue of pandering and then getting their job because they were on the opposite side or they pandered their way through. Those days of pandering, those days of the politician, they're coming to an end. I will make another prediction. Because of the internet, we will devolve power from the federal government back to the states, back to the counties, and we will start eliminating the need for senators and congressmen. They have been wasting our money, wasting our time, and in fact have become an impediment to the rule of government.
They've turned into regional czars.
That's correct. Or as I would call it, a nursing home for those who can't work anywhere else. It's become pathetic. And so no matter whether you're Republican or Democrat, you have people like James McDermott, who I hired, was a psychiatrist for children and adults, a total disaster when I put him into the field. A complete disaster as a psychiatrist in regional as a regional medical officer. But nevertheless, he got elected through the Boeing Corporation in the Washington State.
Well, let me ask you a bunch of quick questions before you got to leave us, Dr. Steve Pieczenik at stevepieczenik.com. Okay, I agree with you that I'd say it's 70-30. We're doing really good right now. It looks like Trump will try to deliver. The economy's already turning back on, but they're trying to raise rates prematurely to try to sabotage that, I think. There's still a lot of problems. Like the Republican establishment is just as bad as the Democratic establishment. They're just as, quite frankly, doddering. Even if they're young, they're just a bunch of country club, you know, people that just go to events parties and run around on red carpets all day. I mean, they're the most selfish, narcissistic, materialistic, empty idiots I've ever seen. And they're busy attacking Trump behind the scenes, going after him as a Russian agent, trying to block all this free market stuff because they've got all their crony deals. I mean, I don't think Trump is anywhere out of the woods. I mean, I agree he's got the momentum. It's just a dangerous time.
I agree with you in many ways, Alex, but what Trump understands and what Obama did before him is the fact that the executive orders are going to basically obviate the need for Congress. If Republicans don't come into step with Trump, they are going to lose and they will be co-opted. So that's
exactly. There's a new aggression in the country when it comes to getting our nation back. And Congress has to know this whole plan, when these bad, corrupt people do stuff, they're the ones that wanted all this spy grid. It's going to be used against them now, and they're going to have stuff leaked on them. They're going to have Project Veritas go after them. We're not going to stop till we make this country great again.
Correct. But remember, what Trump did was to bring Miss Chow, C-H-O, back in again, who is the wife of Mitch McConnell, which gives the warning to Mitch McConnell, clean up your act or get out. And basically, Trump has made it very clear, you either step in line with him or you're out, and you won't be involved. And so
he's got to get rid of Paul Ryan because he's still weaseling around.
Paul Ryan is nothing more than a kind of a policy wonk who has nothing else to do, never created a business, never did anything on
I'll tell you what, do 5 more minutes with us if you can. Dr. Steve Pieczenik's our guest. I'm Alex Jones, Infowars.com. We are restoring the Republic right now, and we've got the highest quality nanotech body armor exclusively available right now. You need it. It funds our operation. Get it. We'll be right back. I only bring this up, not to talk about Infowars, but so people understand the model of victory if anything even happens to us. And it's a very satisfied feeling to see people that are smarter than I am, better than I am with their own media outlets that are just exploding all over the place. But to see our view, our historical research, our perspective, our wide spectrum of guests to really try to get at the truth. We're not trying to live in some delusional land where we make up what we want and then, you know, go out like a bunch of mentally ill peacocks. I think it's perfect that Megyn Kelly's going over there. I mean, she became ugly physically when she sold out, literally. She came like the witch, you know, from Snow White. And then now her ratings plunged. They were trying to prop them up, and she's just gone. She, in New York, believed that she could be on NBC or CNN. That was what was a proper. That's what the president likes. That's what the other women, where she gets her hair done, are into. Well, I mean, it's just, okay. They're really smart, great women you can put in positions. This is not one of them. She's a dingbat. And so InfoWars' success has been in that we just basically have hammered the truth, not some other narrative we were given, and it wasn't some delusional narrative that we just came up with. And so that's really been the strength of the broadcast, is because I was never even trying to talk to intelligence communities, the military or police. In fact, when I was bashing them and attacking them, saying, what's wrong with you? Why are you doing this? Why don't you fight for America? Why don't you stand up? Well, you notice they started doing it. It's because the public wasn't supporting them. It's kind of like in V for Vendetta. He says, why didn't you come forward earlier? Because I was waiting for you, Inspector. I was waiting for you. That's emblematic of the men doing something. That's now happening. And I was just an earlier wave of people concerned about this, desperately trying to reach people, never intending to be the big swinging you-know-what. And I don't want to be that. I want to see prosperity. I want to be able to back off and not be so desperate. Dr. Steve Pieczenik, in the 3 minutes we've got left, I want to thank you. I want to congratulate you. We should celebrate Trump. We should celebrate that Americana is coming back in. I think we should thank everybody, the listeners, the viewers, the patriots. They're all just as important as any of us, like any part of an electrical line over 1,000 miles. They're the connection. They're the heart. They're the blood. So I want to salute them as well. Who else do you want to thank out there?
Well, I want to thank you. You've been very modest about your capability, but the reality is, in my world, when I try to access the radio right after 9/11, there was only one man who came forth and had the courage. And it's a simple word called courage, and that was Alex Jones. And it was your audience. Your audience has been phenomenal. They're all over the world. I get responses from Australia, England, everywhere. These are wonderful people. But remember, a moment of courage can take down so many administrations and so many problems that you can't underestimate what you have done. Now, I don't want to call it victory because there is no victory of us.
It's a continuum. It's a continuum.
It's a continuum. That's correct, Alice. It's a continuum of our continuing to struggle to clear out what's a mess and to use the latest tools that you used, that Trump had used, and that the Americans understand, social media. Now we're going to be in a bigger world. We're affecting now Brexit, which I told you would.
You know what? I wanted to get you on next week for a full hour to break this down. If you've got to go, fine.
No, I keep going.
Let me come back for like 5 minutes and then let you get into strategy for the next phase, what we expect to see, not some game plan you are being given by some shadowy agency, the return of Americana, the return of Renaissance, as a real battlefield expert that has overthrown a lot of countries that were tyrannical and helped keep countries that were good in place. I mean, you've done a lot of stuff.
You and I overthrew a domestic country, and that was the Clintons. You were part of it.
Absolutely. So I want you to, as a real, real expert from the ground right up to the top, what you expect to see, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's a 12-minute segment. I'm going to just let you host it when we come back, and then I'm going to take over with the latest news and developments. Dr. Steve Pieczenik's our guest, stevepieczenik.com. I'm Alex Jones with Infowars.com, and it's a war. It's ongoing, but you're seeing we're winning major battles, and the tide's turning very quickly. Does that mean there's some utopia over the next hill? No, we're still going to be fallible humans. But it means we're going to have people in place that aren't a bunch of pedophiles, basically. I mean, just look at Hillary and Bill Clinton. These are frickin' demons, man. Now, the New World Order, the globalists, and their little plan to have a monopoly system worldwide didn't go in too well. People like prosperity and innovation. They don't want to be lectured by a bunch of weird socialist mental patients that want to attack civilization because they're in competition with it. All right, Dr. Steve Pieczenik, I wanted to get you on next week. Let's do it, too, to spend an hour on really how you see the history of the world so far, this de-evolution of power to the people, to the states, to the local, small is beautiful, and then expanding into the current threats you see and what you do expect some of the forces of monopoly and corruption to try to pull here in the next 16 days and then after, and what you think Trump needs to do. You got about 11 minutes. Go ahead.
I think what Trump has to do now is to make sure that the people he puts in place in all the institutions, all of them, are really vetted out pretty well. Now, what do I mean by that? For many of us on the Alex Jones Show and the Truther Movement, we can't have a reappearance of those who are neocons or neoconservatives. In particular, John Bolton, Elliot Abrams, Wolfowitz, Pearl, David Worms. There are a whole bunch of these people who are sycophants and basically gathering around Washington and Trump and basically explaining how they really didn't do anything bad for the country and they served it and they're essential to the running of our government. That's not true. He needs to clear out the entire neocon area with what Mike Flynn understands and Jay Mathis understands. And he has to clear it out because they're dangerous to our republic. These are the same people who were never held accountable for 9/11 or stand down. That's the first thing. The second thing, James Mathis, General Mathis, has to really take in stride the idol whom he wants to follow, and that's my idol as well, General George Marshall, who basically, when he came in to World War II, cleared out 300 to 400 generals and admirals because he needed a new staff. He needed a staff where a 59-year-old lieutenant colonel by the name of Dwight D. Eisenhower came in to be the head of Eurocom and the commanding forces of the World War II, he had an uncanny understanding of who were the talented people. The same case, James Mathis has to clear out the Pentagon. We have a 1-to-1 teeth-to-tail ratio, which is not acceptable. What that means is that we have one bureaucrat for one fighter. That's unheard of in the history of American warfare. We need a teeth-to-tail ratio of about 15 to 20 to 1. In other words, get rid of the 500,000 or 750,000 of the bureaucrats and promote the young lieutenants and captains into positions of power and command and control. Secondly, the issue of ISIS and Al-Qaeda has to be resolved very quickly. And that's not on the battlefield, it's back at home. Those who created it, namely the CIA and others who consorted with them, and the civilians who were involved, have to be held accountable. This is not an enemy that came out of nowhere. This was an enemy created by our own CIA, by our own intelligence community, and by our own mercenaries. If we do not clear it out, it will be an indictment again of the American Republic. It's not an issue of bombing these people out. You can't bomb terrorists out, but you can create them. John Kerry's responsible, Hillary Clinton's responsible, Obama's responsible, John Brennan is responsible, and the list goes on and on. If we hold no one accountable, we will again repeat the mistrials and misgivings of the Clinton administration and Bush Jr. We have to have a war trials committee that has to be instilled very much the way we did after apartheid. That war trials committee has to have a reconciliation element to it, but it has to bring forth all those people who were involved in 9/11, Bush, Cheney, Rumsfeld, Condoleezza Rice. Once we have that in front of the American public and the world, the Muslims of the world will see that we treat everybody with equal justice. But as long as we keep putting on Jewish ambassadors to Israel, it's not going to work. It's not an accident that the only time we have been successful with Israel and a Muslim country was under Jimmy Carter. Number one, he was not Jewish. Number two, he was a very bright man who had a willingness to risk his political capital to put together Camp David. Number three, or number two, was the fact that we had Stanfield Turner, who's director of the CIA, a military man who was number one in Annapolis. Together, we were able to put together a treaty that lasted for God knows how long, 40, 50 years. With John Kerry, we had an individual who's a CIA skull and bones idiot, literally a man who's not very bright, who never was bright. And
I said you'd host, but I've got to ask this question. He looks like he's neurologically degrading by the month. He flicks his tongue every 2 seconds and seems to be having a mental breakdown. I mean, medically, you are a psychiatrist and an MD. Can you comment on that?
Well, I can't say very much about his tongue movements. I can tell you a lot about his narcissism, where we picked it up in the Nixon and the subsequent administrations when he went to Vietnam and brought with him a film crew. And that was totally out of, we couldn't believe what he had done. And then
have you seen the photo of him looking down the barrel of a gun?
No.
Yeah, but you can't make it up. I'm sorry. I'll keep going.
I'm sorry. That's all right, Alex. You can intervene. Basically, he is a pathetic, dumb individual. He was a Jew whose father was a Jew, created some kind of name, Kerry from Ireland. But he is typical of the politicians who spent most of their years at our taxpayer dollars to hustle and to get into a position of Secretary of State. As Secretary of State, he really has accomplished very little. The Iran Treaty was something that we wanted in the military only because we needed it to offset it to Saudi Arabia. The treaty itself and the provisions have to be re-examined. And of course, the amount of money that was spent for the hostages in the billions of dollars was incredible and has to be held accountable. So we need to go back to all the administrations and basically have an open hearing, kind of what we had in South Africa. What went wrong? How did it go wrong? And this is true of Obama. This is true of Bush Jr. If we do that, then we can proceed as a country as the leading superpower, which we are, and we can continue to be.
But you're saying we lose the soft power and we don't admit all the corruption, all the bizarreness that's going on.
Well, that's not soft power. In my world, corruption's far more lethal than any gun. Because
well, sure, it takes you over. It allows you to be infiltrated. In fact, let me ask this question. You've told me privately, I don't get into what you told me, but other people said the same thing over the years, and I've followed it myself. It's very clear, the communist generals, the Chinese generals, out of uniform meeting with Clinton over and over again, back in the 90s. I mean, out of all the people that pay off Hillary, I know she's an agent of herself, but there comes a time when you actually are really serving one master, like Bob Dylan says. And I mean, is she not pretty much a communist Chinese agent?
I don't know if she's an agent. I don't think she's that. She's not. She's basically so self-centered that she will take money from anybody and anywhere and will accommodate a.
Sure. What does it say as a psychiatrist if somebody steals furniture everywhere they go, basically? I mean, they admit State Department.
Basically, this is a woman who has many, many psychological problems, including the fact that her father wasn't there. I don't want to get into her history, but her history is pretty evident to everybody now in terms of a kleptocracy, the ability to steal, the ability to create collusion, the ability to co-opt, and the inability to really think through a problem or think through a strategy which would suit the nation, not herself. And her self-referential ideas caused her downfall, as well as Bill Clinton, who helped to take her down. I mean, probably the most damning evidence that occurred, and I said it repeatedly, and I warned them that Bill Clinton would undermine her campaign. And how did he do it? He walked over to Loretta Lynch's plane and spent 29 minutes there. And
she now says she regrets that. Yeah, that was illegal.
Of course it's illegal, but that was Bill Clinton at his finest. He couldn't give a damn about his wife. He doesn't give a damn about the country. That was Bill Clinton. And I predicted that he would do something that would undermine her campaign.
You did?
He couldn't help it.
Well, by the way, you saw when he was in Israel at one of the funerals, and Obama for like 20 minutes, like, get up, Bill, get up. And I was watching Bill with the crowd. He looked like he was completely out of his mind.
Well, Bill is his own creation. Bill is not a man of achievement. Bill is not a man of real accomplishment. He's basically a smooth-talking bullshitter from Arkansas. And he was put there by Sam Walton, who had been in the intelligence community, was in charge of all of the repatriation of the Italians and Irish into camps that we had in the United States. The point is that she is... By
the way, I got to skip this network break and give me a few more minutes. I knew that, but I think you're getting into stuff that people don't even know at this point. Why don't you tell people about Walmart? I mean, since you're getting into these areas in Arkansas and the weird...
Walmart is a fancy outlet of a Chinese expansion, or basically Chinese...
That's right. The deal made in the 70s, and then now we see what it's done.
Correct. And you have to remember, Sam Walton wasn't this sweet, innocent American. He was a very sophisticated intelligence operative. I believe he was a captain at the time during World War II, where he was in charge of the incarceration of Italians and other aliens, supposedly, but not the Japanese. And he remained... And he remained in power and eventually built it up through corruption, through Chinese negotiation, and through the banks that he owned. I mean, it wasn't only Hillary that was compromised. We had, in the late 80s, we had evidence that Bill Clinton was compromised by the Chinese. Al Gore had received money. Hillary had received money.
Sure, they even gave them the missile secrets.
Well, that was...
Why give North Korea the reactors that could create A-bombs again?
Because what they wanted to do was to create strategic tension against which we, the Americans, would have to confront and basically fund the military-industrial complex. It's an antiquated concept. It's a concept that came in with Kissinger, with a whole bunch of other people, but we don't need strategic tension.
And now we've given them too much strategic power doing that to Korea. We're much stronger against China, who's already making belligerent moves. It just shows how they claim it's the strategic tension. They're really just selling us out.
Well, let me be frank. China is sitting on a very dangerous precipice. The Chinese,
No, I know they are, and I'm sick of their arrogance. Why do you think they're blowing up and getting in our face now after Obama's bent over to them?
Because that's their response. What they have is called the Middle Kingdom complex. You either come to China as a supplicant, but you do not come to China as a master. We've come to China repeatedly and said to them, this is what we want, and this is what we want you to do. The Chinese, in turn, react to that. Their problem is massive corruption, massive fiscal instability. There is a huge drainage of cash going out of China.
And brain drain.
I'm sorry?
It's just like going out to East Texas. There's places where all the really smart people have left. There's still some people, but you know what I mean? It's a brain drain.
Correct. It's not only a brain drain, but also the fact there is no more dollars there. They're losing their reserves at a very high rate, and they can't rely on $3 trillion or $3 billion or whatever it is they have.
No, I agree, and that's why the big banks are now having to admit Trump's right. We can tell China to do whatever we want. And quite frankly, some of Trump's policies will be better for China long run. They have to reform and stop centralizing control.
Correct. I mean, but what Trump said repeatedly is, look, and he was right on the nose. I think that was Mike Flynn and others who agreed. I agreed with it when he said North Korea is China's problem. If you can't handle North Korea, don't even come to us. That's your creation. It's your problem. You know exactly.
Exactly. Stop using this little moron. We know it's you.
Right. And the fact is, this young man, or he's not a young man, Kim Jong-un, was trained in Switzerland, went to boarding school, speaks English very well, speaks French, speaks a lot of languages. He loves basketball. And he has splayed out a lot of operatives into Canada, into Europe, who are now wanting to change the course of North Korea, but it's not sufficient. And in fact, if he continues...
Yeah, let's talk about North Korea, because you're somebody, I don't know about, I mean, can I tell people, you're able to go into North Korea, you know these people.
Right. Well, I know them to the extent that I've been tracking them for about 20, 30 years.
Well, they let you in and out of the country, and you go talk to them. You tell us about that?
Well, no. Basically, let me get into this. Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-un, his grandfather was, Kim Jong-un's grandfather was a very important man because he turned around North Korea and made it more prosperous than South Korea. Once he left, then his son and Kim Jong-un's father really went the route of a deviation from what Kim Il-sung was. And he was somebody who fought the Japanese. He was somebody who was truly a freedom fighter. Then we had the corruption come in with nepotism and eventually the degradation of a financial basis in North Korea, which was then co-opted by the South Koreans and other countries that went in and used the cheap labor. Now, Kim Jong-un, one of his major leverage points is still using nuclear weapons. That's not going to work. I mean, in fact, he's far from delivering a nuclear warhead on a missile, contrary to what most people have said. And in fact, what he does want is recognition to be part of a legitimate nation state. He will not get it if his only modus operandi is to use the missile systems. He will get it if he stands down and allows the Chinese and other countries to come in and start to turn around the North Korean budget. The real fear of North Korea and China is that we will meld them together. In other words, what happened when we were involved in the amalgamation of East Germany and West Germany, we never took in consideration the East German lack of financial integrity or the great debts that East Germany had. And when they came together, East and West Germany, we realized that there was a huge financial drain on the Germans. In North Korea, this is even a bigger problem. If they are to collapse, and we can collapse the system very quickly, China knows there will be thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of North Koreans streaming into China.
Sure, in Russia, that's a Russia crisis because they border as well. Then why is China acting so belligerent? Is that all just a confidence act?
Well, it's basically their modus operandi, but also at the same time, they're trying to reassert at a time at which we have political transition that they want us to act in a way that's deferential to the Chinese and not deferential to Taiwan. And Trump did the right thing. He basically made a call to Taiwan and said, look, you can become the leverage point in a 30-year negotiation, which really hasn't gone very far. The Chinese need us more than we need China. Their exports are nice, they're cheap, and you can go to Walmart. But their legitimacy is a real problem. There are two elements to their problem. One is water. They have no water. 500 million Chinese north of the Yalu and the Yangtze River have absolutely no water.
And, of course, energy.
Energy. But I predict if there's going to be a war, that war will be between China and India over the Himalayas.
Absolutely.
And the second element is what we talked about. There is no financial integrity to China. In fact, China cannot give you a number that's valid or in any way legitimate. If they were to tell me their growth rate is 6 to 8%, I would say I don't believe it. Because
they're well known. It's all state-run. They execute you if you criticize the stock, calling it fake news. The penalty's death, and our crazy elite are trying to adopt the Chinese censorship model here in America. So there's obviously some real hurdles ahead, but I agree. I think we've got the initiative overall. Shifting back to the Democratic Party, they do seem delusional. Pelosi now seems to be the leader. She says they did everything fine, everything's wonderful. They're going to go ahead with their culture war map, but we know they stole 5 states from Trump. We know there were actually way bigger numbers of Hispanics and blacks that voted for him, but still record numbers did. So they seem to be fundamentally still delusional at the top, surrounded by yes men. I see that as very positive if it doesn't go too far and they start a war in the process of their delusion. But if they just stay kind of delusional and keep falling apart, that's great. My only concern is take over the Republican Party fully, purge it of all the globalists, and then move forward with absolute, technology advancements to pull the world out of the carrying capacity problem we have, because the globalists decided just let everybody starve to death, don't build the new systems, have a global collapse, use that as a consolidation model. Well, that model will probably kill everybody in huge wars. No, we have to stabilize the third world. We have to release the advanced technologies. We've got to build the space colonies. We've got to put in the undersea extraction systems. We've got to go next level or we're gone.
Well, the problem with the DNC is the problem of ageism. You have 3 of the major leaders are on their in their 70s, and they don't want to give up power. Nancy Pelosi has never had a legitimate contestant against her for the past 30 to 40 years. She comes out of a safe zone in San Francisco. Steny Hoyer out of Maryland is another problem. Ben Cardin out of Maryland is another problem. So the problem really resides within the Democratic Party. Either they clean it out or they reinvigorate it. Otherwise,
and they're saying they're not going to. They say they're doing a great job.
No, well, that's delusional. That's exactly what happens when you think that you're that important, which she is not. Neither are the 3 of them that important, but there is no contest. And for the most part, they've alienated their constituents. So there's really no more Democratic Party. As far as we're concerned, the final coup for us and counter coup was to get rid of the Democratic Party and make them impotent. And that was.
And if they push too far, a lot more is going to come out that is very damaging to the country. But if we have to cut the cancer out, we will. And that's the warning they're being given. Dr. Pieczenik, StevePieczenik.com, your books, all your materials there. People can also follow you on Twitter. Thanks for the time, and it's great to have you here with us in 2017.
And Happy New Year to you and your audience.
We are coming out of the storm, ladies and gentlemen. There are more on the horizon. We've made it through this one. All right, we'll be back with other big breaking news and more straight ahead. I'm Alex Jones. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be talking to a guest here in a few minutes, but I want to get our crew with some earpieces, so we're going to do that here in just a second. There are so many things to cover today. Obviously, we're living in the twilight zone. I mean, we're defeating the globalists that hijacked the country. They're in total panic. WikiLeaks from U.S. intelligence agencies are ready to destroy Obama, the Democrats, and everybody else. Bezos, the New York Times are rolling over in fear. And Trump is holding back, releasing information that will just destroy all of them. Did not come from the Russians, let me assure you. So it's a very exciting time to be alive. I want to play some of these clips, though, because they're important, and I haven't gotten to it. One of them is Washington Post editor, Trump reading InfoWars, can tank markets invite incursions. This is the same Washington Post that ran a hoax last week saying that the Russians had hacked the Vermont power grid to shut off the East Coast. Just totally made up. They had to retract 2 days later after we broke it and Drudge carried it. Now everybody's turning against him, admitting it. And then Spicer says Trump will absolutely use Twitter as POTUS. Yeah, bypassing the media. Meet the spokesman, the president. Presidents used to just come out and talk to the public and give an address or talk to the media. They didn't sit there and like have their minions do it. It's all these minions that want to control things. So that is very important. And then a third clip that goes with it is CNN aired fake video of a video game, B-roll from Fallout 4. Fake video from Fallout 4 of hackers, of Russian hackers hacking. So that's how dumb they think you are, is they use CG fake video of a fake hacker from a fake video game, and then they think you're so stupid. This is like, I don't know what happened at Sandy Hook. There are real shootings. I bet kids did die. I'm very sad. The point is that you got Anderson Cooper turning, and it's a green screen. You got Anderson Cooper turning, and his nose disappears. And then you've got Nancy Grace, when she was still at CNN with the other reporter, they're talking in a cul-de-sac. The same cars are driving around in circles behind them, so you see the same cars, and they got caught. I mean, I don't know what they're up to, but these people are liars, okay? And I can see what they're doing. So we've got all these clips here showing how they're the fake news, how they're a joke, how they're a fraud. And a lot of people now realize Trump's going to get in. They're not going to be able to stop it. But Soros is crazy, and he may have that dead man switch, as one of our guests was saying yesterday. And it's just a time to be praying, a time to be focused, a time to be very, very watchful. So let's go through a few of these clips. This is a Washington Post editor attacking yours truly. They're the ones trying to tank markets. The market, Trump has it up of $1.2 trillion, $100 billion plus of investment coming back in. It's all over the news that incredible things are happening. Consumer confidence is the highest ever recorded by Gallup in over 100 years. And we're being told, see, it's our fault. Well, they're trying to crash the economy. They're trying to crash the power grid. And they want to blame the Russians and InfoWars because, you know, we're all Ruski spies around here, folks. Yeah, we're real Ruski spies around here. So let's go ahead and go to those clips. You can just play them in order. Here's the editor of the Washington Post.
And the problem is not just a chaotic management theory. It's actually a weird cycle by which he will stay on message for 7 days. And then all of a sudden, 3 in the morning, he reads InfoWars and, you know, sends off a tweet and goes off. And then everyone has to go to the family and say, can you get him back on the wagon? And then there's another crisis, like, process like this. The presidency can't work that way. You can tank markets. You can invite incursions. You can do a variety of...
Hit pause. Back this up. This is a guy on national television, Face the Nation, attacking us. And their viewership's so low now, only like 3 or 4 million. We don't even care about it. We didn't even know about it until they showed me yesterday. Let's explain something here. They keep saying, it's like Trump thinks he can make decisions himself. He can't do that. He's not infallible. You certainly aren't chicken neck either. You just keep thinking, like, he's crazy. He could make the wrong decision and tank things. You're the ones trying to tank things, jerk. You're the person that's ever done anything in their life, just running around telling us what we should do, caught running fake news. I mean, what, because you have a pinhead, you're like a chicken neck? It's like Revenge of the Wimps. And I'm not against wimps and nerds, but it's like all the criminals attacking us like these wimps that have something to prove because their wee-wees are a half-inch long. I mean, I'm serious, folks. That's Quentin's theory on it, and I think it's really true. More and more, I realize it's a bunch of jerks that think they can just push us around all day, and they take our kindness as weakness. They're learning that's not the case. And I'm not trying to, they don't even listen to warnings. So just, you know what? Go ahead and try to keep Trump out. We're going to destroy all of you with information warfare. With all the stuff you've done, all of you, get ready to wreck your lives because you weren't let into this corrupt system for nothing. You're all a bunch of scum. We know that. So everything's coming out on all of you. Go ahead and fill your hand, dumbasses. If you, it's like the knight in the Holy Grail. He's chopped off his arms, his legs. It's merely his flesh wound. He's like hopping into us, won't stop, doesn't get, we're destroying you. Listen, dumbass, and I'm not bragging to the Washington Post guy. InfoWars, according to Quantcast and every other service, is bigger than the New York Times as of 6 months ago. The New York Times is much bigger than you. Yes, you've got big studios. Yes, you're up there. You're a fop. You're a joke. You're a scammer. And you sit there believing that you're all powerful. We had 85 million viewers election week. Our new low is 41 million. You don't have 10 million readers a week, dumbass. People sit around at fake liberal coffee houses with the paper acting like they're intellectual reading your crap. They don't read anything more than the headlines. Other people use it for birdcage liner. Okay, and I mean that literally. Literally, you're a joke. You want to demoralize us? I'll demoralize you. You come from cowards and rats and scum. It's why that's all you do. Like certain species of dog does this, certain does that, certain breeds. You act like a diseased mental patient. So I'm sorry. Let's finish the clip. of the people that want to permanently tank markets to control us in their own documents, telling us that we that want to make America great again and just equalize the taxes globally so we get our jobs back, that we're the bad. And we're going to our guest. We're going to our guest, but here it is.
And the problem is not just a chaotic management theory. It's actually a weird cycle by which he will stay on message for 7 days. And then all of a sudden, 3 in the morning, he reads InfoWars and, sends off a tweet and goes off. And then everyone has to go to the family and say, can you get him back on the wagon? And then there's another crisis, process like this. The presidency can't work that way. You can tank markets. You can invite incursions. You can do a variety of things. And the manner in which he both manages and his lack of control, impulse control, when it comes to his own message, I don't know how that works in the presidency. It's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, they all get these big cowardly rooms that have these little wimp consensus. I mean, they all wear little nerdly glasses on purpose, accentuating. I'm not against nerds. But, I mean, I'm saying these people are a joke, people. These are the parasites. Now, let's go ahead and go to the next clip, and we're going to our guest. This is Spicer, says, well, Trump will absolutely use Twitter. That's his spokesman as president. Well, why shouldn't he? See, everyone must go through this political elite that no one's watching, no one's listening to. You're like somebody in 1940 that just figured out that nobody's buying horse buggies anymore, and you're like, nobody's been buying these for 30 years. What the hell? You got to get back to riding horses to work. I mean, what the hell? I'm going to go out of business. Well, you ain't listening to us. You got to go through us. Here it is.
Freaks the mainstream media out that he has this following of over 45+ million people that follow him on social media, that he can have a direct conversation. Yeah. He doesn't have to have it funneled through the media. This is going to be a business as usual is over, as I've said before. There's a new sheriff in town. He's going to do things first and foremost for the American people.
So we're still going to see a lot of Twitter as
You're going to see, absolutely, you're going to see Twitter. Why? He
had said on 60 Minutes that he was going to cut back.
You know what? The fact of the matter is that when he tweets, he gets results. So whether it's Twitter, holding a news conference, picking up the phone, having
Yeah, when I go to some little Christian radio station, 1,000 watts, I get bigger response than going on CNN because they got zombies watching. I'm going to give you a big Trump secret here, and then we're going to move on. We're going to extend a little bit the next hour with our next guest here because I've got a lot to cover. Then David Knight's coming in. I never got on Twitter because I knew it was a leftist thing. I only got on it a few years ago, and so we only have on all our Twitters together about 1 million followers. Our main one only 500,000. But Trump went on and was on Apprentice and all these shows and was smart the whole time, gathering pop culture connections as a database. And he's been doing this for 15 years. And he's got all these other databases so he can reach directly to the liberals. And that's why they're so pissed. They're like, be presidential. Get rid of your connection to the 45 million liberals. We never did good on Twitter because it's not a conservative audience. That's why all our conservatives have to go get on Real Alex Jones on Twitter so that we can communicate with you directly. I know it's boring. I know it's stupid, but it's where the wars are happening, where you can attack these globalists on their own Twitters. Paul Watson's such a genius at that. He's got 20 times the support and the reach on Twitter that I do because he knows how to use it. But again, those of you out there with little Twitter accounts, you can wreck them in the info war. One more clip, and we're getting this huge announcement. Skipping this break coming up so we have more time with our great guest, another great Americana innovator, David Roberts, founder of Tennessee Arms Company. Wait to hear about this. But first off, let's finish that next clip. This is the CNN report that aired the fake footage, and now they've been caught. It's fake footage, not of Russian hackers, but a video game. Again, they think you're so dumb, they're telling you on screen, look, we have video of the Russian hackers. So their idiot audience goes, I saw it. I saw it. Okay, this is how they manipulate, and then they get caught and don't even retract it. Here it is.
In spite of this and the U.S. intelligence community's assessment that Russia ordered the election hacking, President-elect Trump just last night continued to dismiss both Moscow's involvement and the importance of the hacking at all.
I think we ought to get on with our lives. I think that computers have complicated lives very greatly. The whole age of computer has made it where nobody knows exactly what's going on.
Senator John McCain.
Now, again, can we cue it back up to the Fallout part right there? I want to show people. This is a video game. And notice, they cut to make it look like its generals are 99 years old. That was a World War II vet event with them wearing their uniforms. I've seen them go, look at the crazy Russian generals, like 99-year-old guys. Everything they do is to project manipulation, wartime propaganda. But shifting gears out of that, we had a big announcement at the start of the show today that we've got, for the first time, only law enforcement's got it. The Pentagon's testing it. It is nanotube technology. The old stuff, obviously, first developed in Texas 15, 20 years ago, was toxic. It's completely non-toxic, to make that clear. but it's totally sealed. It didn't even shoot the first layer. Okay, when we shot it, even with carbines with pistol rounds, they're coming out soon, and we're the sole distributor. We're so honored. I don't know how long it's going to last, but they're letting us roll it out of this Made in America, developed in Texas system. Now, coupled with that is David Roberts. Now, I want to be clear. And I'm going to let Q, because you know this guy well, break this down, and you've been working on this for a long time. I didn't ever do the lowers because a lot of these companies had problems, fly-by-night, whatever. And then I learned with this company, went out and got, as usual, the best. They originated it. Over time, they perfected it. They invented the copper inserts so that they just keep going and going, and many times more than aluminum or I guess steel. 30,000 to 60,000 is what the third-party ratings are. It's just insane. And this is something totally private to you, no record. They have the ATF letter. It's on Infowars.com saying this is completely legal and lawful. In minutes, you've got a third you can drill out. Now, again, I've never done this because I only wanted to have the very best. Well, this is the best. Veteran-owned, Marine Force Recon. This is the company. He's had several companies. And so break this down and introduce this guy because it's simply amazing. Infowarsstore.com. I don't want to say we have their entire line because it's custom. We have their entire line and more. Hundreds of designs, Magpul matching colors, on and on and on. And with this laser etching, we're going to get it where it's actually almost even personalized. You can sit in what you want and do that. But we've got dozens and I guess it's hundreds of different designs right now, from Molon Labe to Paul Revere to George Washington to I want to do some commemorative, Trump 45, Return of the Republic. We're adding more every day. And if you don't want to customize it, just want it straight up, all murdered out in black or olive drab or whatever, we've got it, Infowarsstore.com. This is so amazing on so many fronts. And again, we're taking the Republic back. We're excited. We're breaking the globalist will over us. I'm literally this excited. People say, how do you keep doing it? Are you on drugs? No, we're kicking the globalist ass. We've got the best lower company. We're just, this guy's battled in court and is the #1 guy patented. He's the king daddy. We've got him. So Q and Pat, great job. Talk about it. Let's introduce this guy. So we're going to go a little bit, about 10 minutes in the next hour. Then I'm going to hand it over to David Knight.
All right, absolutely.
God, I'm feeling good. Are you high on liberty?
Woo! Absolutely. I'm a little more.
You got to mirror that energy.
Take you down right now?
Yeah,
oh, man.
Probably. Love it. We want to introduce David Roberts.
I want to get this guy right now.
Chicken neck.
Q's got energy that just gets my energy going.
You forgot your glasses.
I did.
You don't even look smart.
Q let me rough him up this morning.
Yeah, he lost.
I have a little chicken neck. I just hide it with this beard. We want to introduce David Roberts, owner of Tennessee Arms, give him a chance to discuss his product and tell us what we already know, but tell you guys what it is about this product that makes it the absolute best.
Yeah, I mean, this is no hype, folks. I know that's why I've never done this. People, how much money could I make? I'm not going to even... Jesse James, awesome guy, wants to work with me. He's great. I know he's the best. We're going to do it with him, too. He's got the entire NRA catalog down. Did you know that?
Right.
Boom, first, David Roberts. Nanotech, everything, the best. Sorry, David, tell us about your products, and we're very, very happy that you're letting us distribute them. Thank you, sir.
Well, I'd really like to thank you for letting me be on the show. And what we started out with was the AR-15. It's a proven design. It's been used for, decades, but it was a design that was made in 1959. And, as you can imagine, we've done wonderful things with material science and, the engineering that is gone on since then. So one of the first things we looked at was the receiver. And, basically what we did was we started questioning. We started wondering, what can we do different to, get this weight down and, to make this thing, bring it in.
Sure. When I was a kid, I shot M16s and stuff that were even full auto. They just didn't work good. Over time, I'm not an expert on the names, but the M4s have gotten more and more perfected. And the word is you perfected the lower. We
did. The way we did it was by lowering the weight and using space-age materials. Now, when I say space-age, what we're doing is basically just taking an automotive-grade polymer that has been in use, and it's in use in your cars. We make the automotive suspensions for rough country suspensions here in this town. So, we understand polymers. We understand how they work. We understand their strength and weaknesses. And we incorporated that design into the AR-15 receiver. But one of polymer's weaknesses is it doesn't hold threads very well. And that's where a lot of our competitors have problems is, they try to make this all polymer part. And it's just not what that does. So what we do is we actually put the metal inserts in to hold the threads and to strengthen it while still getting the strength and the lightweight and the color that goes all the way through the material by using the polymer.
And I'm showing the laser etching happening right now. But just be clear that you took basically automotive engineers, technology, things perfected in the auto industry, and then took it with the Colt, M16 type receiver, I guess, for an AR-15 now, and just upgraded it. Everybody tried to copy you, but they say you're the best.
Well, that and I did patent it. So
you've battled in court and won that.
Yes, I did. It was pretty ugly. We did invent it. We did come up with it. We were very quickly copied. So that just tells you that we were onto something.
Absolutely.
But so what we did was we actually took a basic AR-15 design, which is a really good design, and we just updated it and brought it into this century. And what we're doing is actually most of our customers are people that build their own AR-15s. Because as you well know, that the best way to understand how a weapon system works is to build it yourself and understand it.
And these are so affordable, and we've got them in 1-pack, 5-packs, 10-packs. You can get them naked. You can get them, I guess it's no additional charge, customized, all these designs. Soon we're going to you can actually email us, and we can send it to you and have it done. It's going to be a little bit more, obviously, to have them loaded in and do it with the laser and everything. But, I mean, this is amazing. Break down basically how somebody legally and lawfully does this, because we've got the ATF letter on the site. And that's why I haven't worked. I mean, I've been given offers, let me not exaggerate, by probably every other company out there that does lowers. And I just did research. I did reviews. It's just there's a lot of crap out there. I'm sorry, folks. This is the place to get it. And the blessings, the providence we keep having, like the best body armor company, hands down about to go Department of Defense wide. Boom, we get it. The other product we're going to be announcing soon. I mean, it's just incredible. You'll see it in Dick's and Walmart in 6 months. We get it first. Special Forces using it for 10 years, classified. Kills bacteria, everything. Nobody's got this. I mean, this is like the next colloidal silver. I just can't believe the winning. You're going to get so sick of winning. You're going to say, please stop winning. I'm going to say, no. It's the spirit of the Republic. Just get ready. We're the best. Sorry.
Well, and honestly, when, Q came to me about this originally, about, partnering with your organization. And, one of the first things I asked was, what kind of man is he? What kind of company does he run? Because I knew Q. I knew he'd shoot me straight. And, he told me that, you and your company would be somebody that I'd want to partner with and, get a good long time partnership.
Well, we can tell you've been busy working making guns that you don't know about InfoWars. That's awesome, though, brother. It's good to, I mean, listen, you're the best. It's amazing. I've heard about Tennessee Arms for so long and the other companies you pioneered, the stuff you developed. It's incredible. Let's get more into these because, again, for the layperson out there, let's go through the legalese. Like, it's 80% done. It's very easy to do. We're going to have a video. We actually shot it yesterday. We're going to have where it shows me even in there doing it and Q doing it. And I'm not a machinist, and I did a pretty good job. Explain how this works, the whole genre to folks for people that aren't informed, who are thinking about building their own firearm. This isn't the firearm, but it's the key lower and how people can do it.
Absolutely. Well, the way the ATF regulations work is the only thing that's considered a firearm is the receiver itself, the part that holds the serial number. But it's completely legal to build your own firearm at home. And the way we, do that is we give you a piece of the receiver, basically the outside dimensions in the magazine that meets those regulations, but it doesn't hit what the ATF considers to be a firearm. So these can be shipped, over the mail. They can be shipped directly to your house. There's no background check. It's all completely legal.
And this shows bureaucratic idiocy. Hasn't this been around since like the 20s?
This has been around forever.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, Americans have been building guns since before there was an America.
Well, sure, but in the ATF's view, exactly going after guns, is what I'm saying is this law is from the 20s, isn't it?
I'm not sure. I think it's always been legal. I don't think the law itself even... it was never illegal to not build your own gun.
No, well, but I mean exactly. But I'm saying this particular, where they consider the firearm just the stamp ID. It's crazy.
As I understand it, it is. With the that comes with the marking variations and their regulations of what they actually consider.
The point is, there's a lot of dangerous stuff out there. I don't just say this to as marketing. It's true. It's why I haven't been involved in it. You're the biggest. You're the cleanest. You're the originator. You're the best. You've got the ATF letter. These other people, literally, I'm like, okay, let me see an ATF letter. They're like, oh, we'll get you that. Never comes. And or like people like these ads, like it shoots full auto, buy our lower. I'm like, dude, that's illegal without a tax stamp. I'm no expert on this stuff, but I know there's a minefield of idiocy with this stuff.
Oh, it never stops. It never stops. There's a lot of hype in the industry, and one of the things that you really want to get by is you don't want to kick the hornet's nest of the ATF. You want to do things correctly. You want to do it right, and you can. You
guys can give folks the blueprint to follow the law to the gold standard.
Absolutely. And,
so break down how we do this. Let's say you're an average guy living in Tennessee or Texas or wherever. and you want to, or Northern California, it should be its own state, great place, and you want to be able to build your own firearm as a hobby, teach your son, daughter how to do it, you know, to have your own original Americana firearm that didn't come off an assembly line, that's cool. I'm going to do this with my son and daughters. How did they do it?
Well, all of our receivers, you know, unless you are using like an easy jig or, you know, one of the other commercially available jigs that help you build it, but our jig that comes with the receiver actually helps you drill it out. And, you know, using the supplied instructions.
Let's be clear. It's almost like coloring by numbers with your jig. The jig is the encasement that the resin and copper system lower is in to make sure you do it just right.
Absolutely. And we tried to make this as easy as possible and still stay within the law. So what we did was we made the jig itself. It holds that receiver in very tightly so you can keep the tolerances. But the only tools that are needed are basically a drill press, a little bit of sandpaper, and maybe a Dremel tool. You can get by with less, but if you really want to do a good job, that's what you're looking for.
So it's harder to build a model airplane, you know, when you're 10 years old than to do this.
Yes.
This is basically an adult Legos.
So yes, Dave, tell them why you chose marine grade brass and explain to them where and why you reinforce the areas of the polymer lower.
Absolutely. One of the things we did was we looked at anything that had a thread, because those threads itself make the material very thin and very weak. So what we did was by using the marine grade brass, and we use brass for the ease of machining and the lack of dissimilar metal issues. When you put two metals together that are dissimilar, you can cause corrosion issues. There are a lot of things that can happen by using the wrong metal. So, and that's where the science background comes in, and that's why this took so long to perfect. But by using that brass insert, you know, you don't have corrosion problems. You got great strength. And, you know, it's very easy to machine, so it keeps our production level high and our costs low, and we pass that along to the consumers. I
was about to add that I've done my own research. I'm not a gun expert. I go see other lowers that are crappy are like twice the price. People just, I mean, this is the place to get your lower, InfoWarsStore.com, and they've allowed us with all this laser etching they've got with these incredible lasers to do all this, you know, come and take it, don't tread on me, InfoWars, defend the Republic. We're going to come out with a inauguration of Trump 2017 special, but I don't wait till he actually gets there. I don't want to celebrate prematurely. A lot of exciting things, ladies and gentlemen. It's key to bring back building your own firearms. That's what this is all about. This is a great, great thing to do. Maybe for your school project, for science class, just show a video, though. Don't bring it into school. They'll freak out by that. But, I mean, there's just so many angles of this. Now, these are really affordable. Let's talk about the cost at InfoWarsStore.com. There's no reviews yet, but on your site, you've got the 5-star reviews. We just launched it today. I mean, how easy it is to put these together and how much they cost. We've got all the colors. We've got different packs, you name it.
Exactly. Well, you know, one of the things that we do is because of our process, because of the high-pressure injection molding, we can make thousands of these things a day. So by doing that, we can keep our costs low, and we pass that along to our customers and for people like you who distribute our product. And
that's right. I've also read a lot of people have this third party done. That's why they make you wait so long. They're getting them done in like China and stuff. Is that true?
Yes. Nobody's really come out front and said, you know, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, because they're not a firearm, they're not regulated.
Sure, exactly. Wow, that's why you want to go to somebody like you. Back in 70, David Roberts, it's founder, Tennessee Arms Company, TNA Arms. It's TNArmsco.com. And I told you, Q, correct me on air. And Q said, never. You got to. I don't make firearms. I just go to the experts.
On corruption.
He's like, they're not lower thirds. They're lowers. I know that.
Of the info.
I can't even remember the variation of a 223, a 556, but can I shoot stuff at 450 yards?
I've seen it.
Okay, so yeah, Coke cans.
We have it.
So I don't know all the names and all the crap.
Baby deer.
Like, I don't know the names of all these wrestling moves, but I'll break somebody's neck. No, not this Marines will kick my ass. I'm just acting tough, all this testosterone. We're going to go a little bit in the next hour, about 15 minutes or 10 minutes or so. Our great David Knight is back after a wonderful vacation to take over with all the breaking latest news. But just in the time we've got to keep saying, it's not a lower third, it's a lower brass. So the experts, like David Roberts and Q, take over. That's why you're here, Q, because I said I don't know all the names. So correct me. That's why you're here. Sorry, go ahead, Mr. Roberts.
Well, Well, I really appreciate it, but you know, it's you know, talking about 450 yards. I've shot with Q quite a bit. You might outshoot him. I'm just saying.
Well, Q didn't take the shot. He was offered the shot. He didn't take it.
Yeah, there's a reason. I'm just saying.
I'm not trying to brag. I'm just I'm so excited about Trump. We just beat Obama's coup. I got the word this morning from the whole deal. We just blew I'm not normally this excited. I'm sorry. Go. Mr. Roberts, please continue.
Yes,
please continue. We just saved America. I'm sorry. It's so damn good. Woo! Man, get out the champagne. I mean, we're not out of the woods yet, but it looks good.
Sorry, we're not.
New York Times is turning against Obama right now. Oh, man. Oh, God. I'm not trying. I'm sorry. It's just starting to hit me right now. I'm sorry. Mr. Roberts, please continue with the lowers.
Well, we've covered most of it. I mean, basically, what we're doing is just letting people actually build and understand their rifle like they should. The only way to truly understand a rifle is to actually take it apart and put it back together. And there's no better way of doing that than just building it yourself.
Well, that's what I wanted.
By buying a 80% lower, the people don't have to register it. There's not a serial number, but it's a family heirloom, right? It's something that only belongs to you. You can't sell it.
That's key. You cannot ever transfer this. Explain that.
Right, Dave. So whatever it is, if you produce your 80% lower, you create a firearm, that firearm belongs to you for life.
It does.
Yep. Let me tell a story since you brought this up. I don't know about guns, but when I used to still go sign DVDs at the gun show, because it was back then. I mean, I'd sell like 1,000 DVDs and I'd help pay the bills. We're talking just like 14 years ago. I was still going out in public. Now I can't really do it. And they'd have people come over and go, "Hey, I lost my driver's license." Even guys we come over and sign for this gun. There'd be ATF wait. I was like, "Oh my God!" And then another time, like out front, "Hey, Alex, buy my thing. It's got a custom lower." And they were so dumb. And I was like, "Oh my!" They were about to set me up. So let's explain. This is legal and lawful. You cannot sell this. Explain this to us, please.
Well, actually, there's an ATF form that you can fill out, and basically you just go through a real simple process. Like I said, it's that.
So if you file it in, you then can sell it. You just can't before you do that sell it.
Well, you end up giving it a serial number and whatever, and then it's just a regular firearm.
Yep.
So
that's what I'm saying. You're the expert. Explain it to me. Explain it to me.
Well, until you do anything with it, until you mill it out and make it a working firearm, it's just another. It's a doorstop.
It's a piece of
so you could sell it or give it away at that point, but once you've milled it out, though, you've got to turn it into a firearm if you ever want to sell it.
You do because they're not tracked, and if you're keeping it for your own use, then you just fill out an ATF form, and it's yours.
So typical user at home comes to InfoWarsStore.com, picks up one of these lower receiver 80% with the jig, follows the basic instructions, completes it. It's an up and running AR-15 lower.
It is.
As long as they maintain it in their possession and never give it to anyone else, it doesn't require a serial number and it does not require any type of background investigation or registration.
No, it is.
And you guys walk through that on the website. We have all your same paperwork on InfoWars. It's being drop shipped from Tennessee Arms in Tennessee, the great volunteer state. And you give them the literature and everything when they get it.
Yes. Yeah, we give them everything.
I'm going to come back because you're a gentle giant over there. And I have all these great Force Recon stories. You talk about your buddy that died in Benghazi. It's incredible. I want to come back and give you the floor for about 5-10 minutes talking about Tennessee Arms. I don't care if people get it from Tennessee Arms or us. I'm just glad they get these because it's amazing. But when you do get them at InfoWarsStore.com, it funds the InfoWar. And we've got these custom laser designs. Stay with us. I never went to salesman school and all this stuff. And I was talking to one of the top salesmen at Clear Channel, who's also was a vice president at the time. And they said, "Alex, you get so crazy when you're selling stuff. It's like a money machine when you're trying to get like a $10 bill cash into quarters at the video game place. You got to kind of slowly put it in or it rejects it." And I'm like, listen, if I get excited about something, I'm going to get hysterical. And because a lot of us go, "Here's our sponsor, here's the product." It's a good sponsor. I don't like having to plug it. I got news I want to cover. But when it's like guns and cool stuff like this and the very best body armor, and we've got the exclusive on the body armor, and it's like the best company, and I'm finally, after a decade of refusing to sell lowers, lower thirds, lowers, I'm excited. So, but listen, you keep telling me, get to this, get to that. You got to take over, Q. Tell us why this is so important, how great it is. And I want David Roberts of Tennessee Arms to jump in anytime he wants. Their lowers, the best with the brass, patented, proven in court, biggest company in the nation, tried to come copy him. He won in court. I love that story, too. The Americana, the original guy, they tell you screw off. You go, you beat them. I've been down that same road. So very exciting match made in heaven. It's Providence. David Roberts, that's Tennessee Arms, tnarmsco.com. Get them there, get them here. We've got the M4s customization at the same price. They've got them with the whole laser etching, but I'm just excited about this any way you slice it. So Q, get in here.
Right. So I'm going to go ahead and interrupt Q, and he's going to talk about the amazing warranty, but I want to talk about the actual project. So you get the product, you get a really regular drill press. It's really easy.
And Q's like a gorilla, and he's able to do it.
Yep.
There he is doing it.
That's a manly hand right there.
That should tell you. I'm smart enough to do it.
That hand's never done anything bad, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's the margin we used when we designed it. If you can do it, we knew anybody could.
I'll look for royalties.
But seriously, you put it in a drill press, you make a couple drills, you go ahead and finish it off with a Dremel or sandpaper. It's very easy, and there you go. It's done. It's complete. I mean, it is simple.
One of the added benefits of using a polymer is you don't have to refinish. If you did an 80% in metal, you would have to go back and somehow protect that metal. Well, an aluminum, which is what almost all receivers are made out of, gets a lot of its strength from the Type 2 anodization that's on the top. It's a hard coat anodization. It's not a regular anodization.
And you make a mistake and cut through that, you're screwed.
Well, not just that aluminum is very soft. That it really needs that hard coat anodization, and you're not going to do that at the house.
Well, that's what I saw in third-party reviews before I have to interrupt. I'm not a gun guy, but I saw the experts saying, what's so great about yours is I was reading they're better than a lot of aluminum for half the price because it doesn't have that problem.
Exactly. Well, because the material is exactly the same on the surface as it is in the middle, when you mill ours out and, make it a functioning firearm, there's nothing else to do. You just mill it out and you're done. You don't have to finish it. You don't have to do anything. You just sand it to make it pretty, to make sure that
and you know what I like? It's hard to screw up, but they're so inexpensive. If you did, I've heard you've got a money-back guarantee that's unrivaled.
We do. We cover everything to include stupidity. That if you do something dumb, we replace that.
See, people, that's why I get so excited. It's the whole package with Tennessee Arms. Explain that.
So about a year ago, I had called Dave on a cell phone, speakerphone. A young man had come into the gun store where I was doing some work and said, hey, I have this Tennessee Arms lower and I broke it and whatever. He didn't know that I knew Dave. So I pulled my phone out of my pocket, set it on the counter.
Well, tell the whole story. You're like, this is crap. And you were there doing firearms training. You were just helping a friend out doing behind the register deal. You told me the whole story. He comes in. Tell the whole story. We got time.
He comes in. He's complaining. He's like, I bought this polymer lower. It's a piece of crap. I did this, and this. It broke on me. And I said, I'm pretty sure they just don't break. Well, the long story was, using one of these pins, he hit it with a hammer. Well, when he hit it with a hammer, he broke it. It's not designed to be hit with a hammer, although we can do it. So I pick out my phone, I put it on the counter, and I call Dave, and I said, hey, Dave, I've got one of your POS lowers here, and it's broke. And what do you want to do about it?
I think that was a quote, actually. I remembered that and I almost cussed him.
And his quote was, send it back. No questions asked. I'll finish it. I'll fix it. And I said, okay, real deal. This is what happened. A guy sanded some, hit it with a hammer, broke the end of it, and now it's broke. Dave said, no questions asked. Send it back to me. We'll replace it. Young man came back in 10 days later. Dave actually gave him a custom laser finish to make him a little happy for his inconvenience. But he came back in with the lower, happy as can be. So it's a testimonial to how well their customer service is. Their actual no questions asked warranty is exactly that.
Again, unconditional lifetime warranty.
And what's great is, again, I'm not a rocket scientist. I get all these names wrong. All I know is the top experts I talk to say this is the deal. That's why it fell in our lap. Thanks to you guys. I'm so blessed for the audience because, again, in the decade, I've been offered so many of these deals, even by folks that sound pretty good. But then then I hear and I go check and I spend hours on each sponsor that wants to come here, even before I even look at doing it. And then they get pissy or they get weird or they want this or they want that. I'm like, listen, I can just sell T-shirts and great vitamins to people. I don't need this. This is like good Americana. It's high quality. It's the best. And I want to be able to say, I'm bringing you the developer, a patriot who's won in court. It's his. He has the best ratings. Everyone says hands down the best. With that, it just syncs up with my worldview. I mean, I've kind of got no CD where if I cannot bring you the best at an affordable price, I will not do it. It's like I will not treat you like I don't want to be treated. And the more I live that, it's like every door opens. The providence just intensifies. And that's what this is all about, folks. So, again, be safe with these. Follow all the rules. Just know that. At checkout, you take full responsibility. But my responsibility is to give you the best quality, follows the ATF rules, laws, everything else. InfoWarsStore.com, whether it's 1-packs. I don't know if we've added that yet, 5-packs, 10-packs.
We're adding it next week.
Yeah, because you won't be able to customize when you do that, obviously. Or I guess you could do all of one or whatever.
If you got some great ideas, send them to us. We're,
Yeah, send us your designs. I mean, because we're going to want to get it where, how much do you think it'll cost off the top of your head if we do individual customized? Because I know having a technician load it in the computer, then etch it, you might mess, I mean, that might cost as much as the receiver just to have it totally custom. We're just trying to add hundreds of designs. I mean, how would that work?
If we think it, they'll build it.
Sure.
Yeah, we've gotten pretty good at this. We've got it down to an art. Actually, my brother, who started this, business with me at the end of 2013 when I, left Afghanistan and quit contracting, but he started this with me. He basically runs all of the engraving. He does a wonderful job. He does crazy things with the laser, and as you can well see in the video, that I couldn't do. It's like I've got a computer background, but I don't have the level of detail that he does.
I'll tell you what's exciting. I'm seeing all these vets that the globalists tried to block and tried to not give jobs just start their own companies because they were blocked by Obama on this plan to get rid of the weapons. And to see everywhere I go, all the best industry, all the best innovations, from whether it's a car dealership or a restaurant or manufacturing, it's our vets that are bringing America back. And I don't mean that to kiss the military's ass. When I saw the globalists trying to use the military against America 20 years ago, I got very, not anti-military, but anti the stance. But our military came through in flying colors and became the information warfare resistance to everything. And it's been those veterans in private corporations and in the government and the intelligence agencies that have never faltered. And we're going to take all these globalists and just remove them. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, even my brother, Air Force veteran, used to work on avionics for the Air Force. And, it's that level of detail and that technical ability that he brought into here. And I couldn't have done
Well, it really is true. Our veterans are the very best people we've got. It's just true.
When I tell you, day or night, I can call this guy and he'll pick up his phone, just like you. Y'all work equally as hard.
Yeah.
And he stands by his products.
Yes, it's my baby. It's not just a product to me. It's something that, I've put my heart and soul into.
Well, look at the snowflake generation versus our veterans that actually have to go out, do things, be accountable. I mean, it's almost like it's the only place where survival of the fittest was still in place. It's like the only men left. I mean, and I was never even in the military, but my parents, a lot of them had been involved in things, and they were just like, we're not going to do anything for you. You're going to have to go, you got both your eyes black, fight harder. And thank God, I thought my parents were mean. It was great. Because they were giving me, it's like a plant doesn't grow in space or humans die on a mission to Mars because your muscles aren't moving. We're not exercising any of this. We're turning into jellyfish.
Making men again. Making men again. It's okay to act like that.
Victor Hugo, the French philosopher, said, prosperity makes monsters, adversity makes men. Well, getting back to the lowers, again, and then folks, can you recommend, because I don't know now, because I guess it's legal to sell all the other parts with it as well, or explain to me. Maybe you can help us navigate that. I want to be able to put it together where people can get all the stuff that goes together, the best from the experts, because, again, I want to give people a good blueprint. This is the best lower. How then do we go about building the entire package that's the best?
Well, actually, everything else can go through the U.S. mail system. I've worked with a lot of companies, because the lower is really the only thing that I do. We're manufacturing the lower parts kit now. It hadn't quite gotten to my level of perfection, but when it gets there, we'll be releasing that.
Sure. I mean, are there any other companies that you recommend that go good with your systems, or is it pretty much just...
Absolutely. We've been using head-down products for probably about 3 years now. Always had good luck with them.
They've been a sponsor. They're great guys.
Oh, absolutely. Great guys. And Sons of Liberty Gunworks down in San Antonio, pretty close to y'all. Wonderful guys.
Let's get with them.
Down there. Yeah, great organization. But those are the ones that we usually work with because you see the innovation in the smaller companies. The big companies, all they want to do is just turn out a product. They don't care. They're all owned by big conglomerates anyway. It's the small companies that really care.
Yeah, it's these cold-blooded executives go, that's a market. Pump as much crap out with advertising as we can. And I'm always like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want my audience to get a bunch of crap.
Exactly. So what we focused on is we don't advertise. Everything that we do is word of mouth, and we pretty much grow and we almost double in size every year because people are talking. It's not because we're spending tons of money on advertising, glitzy, and glitzy showgirls in the shot show.
InfoWars has never done any advertising other than some stuff on Limbaugh to try to help him when they were trying to shut him off, just as an active
You don't
war.
need it when you have a good product. When you have a good product, it sells itself. So when you got a good product and a good warranty and, you stand behind it and if you're a real person with a real product, it sells itself because it's
And then you're going to be in business with your grandkids in 100 years. It's like, it's like people think what we're doing or what you're doing at Tennessee Arms is something new. No, it's what America was based on. Like, exactly. I want you to buy the stuff we sell over and over again. It helps us fund the operation. It's quality. But I didn't do it in some cold-blooded way. I was like, I want to sell good stuff because that's how I want to be treated. But then everybody loves it, so then we get even more business, we get bigger. All these weirdos think like if you cheat somebody and get some money up front, you're winning. I don't understand that.
It's a loser mentality. It's conceited and it's a loser mentality.
It's not the way business should be done. I mean, we actually track a lot of our customers. We keep in touch with them. We want to know what they're doing.
Well, let's just say it. I don't want to bash the rest of the country, but everybody's leaving the East Coast and the West Coast to come to the middle of the country and the South. Not that we're perfect, but people are nice. They're friendly. They want to compliment you. They want to ask who you are, and they want to treat you good.
And liberals now are buying guns, and they'll start buying lowers.
Yeah, what do you make of that?
Well, I've heard it said that the country's like a loaf of bread. It's kind of hard on the crust and it's soft in the middle. And it's there's a lot of truth to that. I've went to school in Boston. I've lived on both coasts. It's there's good people here in the South. There's good people in Texas.
Oh, there's good people all over the country. It's just there's these elites in control of the East and West Coast.
Oh, it's unreal. And the things that they're ramming down everyone's throat, it's not the way things should be done. Freedom works if you let it. If you give people the tools to let them go make their life better, they will do it every time. Just stay out of their way.
Well, Soros jumped the shark with all this cop killing crap. And I think that was the final nail, trying to run a destabilization program to cause a civil war. That was when the record skipped, and anybody that was questioning us said, you're right, we're taking them down. Mm-hmm. I know you're busy, David Roberts, there in Tennessee with TennesseeArmsCo.com. But, I mean, have you heard, like, there's been a whole counter coup against Obama and the globalists, and WikiLeaks was actually intelligence agencies in the U.S., and we just beat them, and they've been trying all sorts of stuff behind the scenes. But, I mean, there's some big stuff going on, bro.
Absolutely. And, and it's all moving in the right direction. It's just the winds of change. Everything has been moving in one direction for, basically since the, Clinton presidency started was, everything was moving more toward a statist and a centralized government. And people are just basically fed up with it. They want to actually control their own lives. They want to take personal responsibility. They don't want to be controlled by central government, by anybody, really. I mean, the worst thing you can ever do to somebody that's truly free is to tell them what to do. And, that's one of the things why, I support your organization. And, you're doing it the right way is you're telling people the truth and you're just letting it disseminate from there. Is you tell people the truth, you give them the tools to actually do what they can, and they can make noise about it. If you can't make an informed decision based in truth, then everything that you're doing it's for naught.
Absolutely. Well, God bless you, David Roberts, and thank you for having the best quality lower out there. And thanks for working with Infowars.com, InfoWarsStore.com. People get a high-quality lower. They've helped fund our operation. They support you in Tennessee and America. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you. All right, I want to hand this over to David Knight, who just got back from vacation. I know he's chomping at the bit, and I guess he's hosting the Nightly News tonight as well. But so much coming up. But I just want to say this here, because I've gotten really excited today, looking at the facts, looking at what the globalists are trying, watching what the newspapers are doing, knowing who's got operatives where. It takes a lot of research to do what I do. I'm not bragging, but it's like mind-burning to like know the enemies, know who they are, know where they're at, to where it's like you can't even try to even say it. It's like you hold this big map in your brain, and then you just make a prime projection. I don't know how to explain that. It's like look at a whole battlefield, and then be able to just know each piece of it, and go and then make a decision. And that's what I do. And then that's the kind of idiot savant gift I've got, why I do like a lot of intelligence operatives and high-level people want to hear what I have to say. Not as some pat on the head. They really want to war game it with me. And I'm telling you, we're in the crossroads right now, but we're pulling out. Obama's losing support. Hillary's losing support. Soros is losing support. Their own media is turning against them because they know WikiLeaks is about to drop stuff 10 times worse. And we don't want to do this, okay? I say let everything out, but, I mean, this stuff's so bad, folks, that we're going to have to arrest like 10,000 people and like execute them if this comes out. And then they're going to fight. They got kill switches. And we put them into sabotage mode. There's a reason we kept putting Napoleon on an island instead of killing him, because he'd have flipped the switch to cause, you know, it's not like we don't want. It's not like we want to cover up evil. This stuff's so bad, folks. These people are so evil that they've got a kill switch, okay? And like people told me, so many high-level people that say, listen, Alex, we can't tell you classified stuff. Get this guy on. He figured it out, this piece, that piece. And then I go talk to the guy, and they go, yeah, Soros has got an economic kill switch that's ready to bring down the economy. That's why they're now saying Trump's going to implode the economy. Alex Jones, it's his fault. They're looking at that right now. But there's a bunch of people going, you do that, you're going to be pushing up daisies, and not just politically. So I want everybody to understand something. This is more epic than our founding, okay? Let me tell you something. What's going on right now is the most epic moment in world history, because this isn't just about America. The whole world is struggling out of globalist clutches right now. They always said New World Order doesn't exist, Soros doesn't exist, Davos doesn't exist, Bilderberg doesn't exist, planetary government doesn't exist, carbon tax doesn't exist. So we'd never actually fight them. But people said, no, it does exist, we're going to fight. They're folding because they're so small. They're a bunch of inbred, crazy scumbags. And the epic moment is now. And so we're here. And the battle's going to go on. There's no utopia. It's a continuum, but a very nasty crop of delusional crazies is on its deathbed. Now, this is the most critical 16 days of our life, and probably for generations. David Knight talks a lot about the fourth turning and a super cycle. So did Matt Bracken yesterday. I agree. We're at that super turning right now. David Knight, can you feel it in your gut? Can you intellectually see it? I mean, the electricity is alive, but just in the last few hours, and I hate to do this, it's mumbo jumbo, but it's not. My gut just told me a huge cloud just lifted, because there's a big battle going on behind the scenes. I can't get into all of it. A huge cloud's lifting. I believe they may have just surrendered. I believe we may have just seen the enemy surrender today. I know the gauntlet was put down yesterday. I know it was being put down again today. And I believe the enemy just surrendered. I don't mean to get mumbo jumbo, but it's real. We all have sixth sense. Like, you all know when your grandma, I called my dad one night and I said, I just feel like we should go see Mima. And she was fine, out of the hospital for months, doing good. And I said, I think she's going to die. He said, you're right, let's go. And I was on Coast to Coast AM that night, went to bed at 4. And my dad came at like 6 a.m. to drive to the ranch in East Texas. And he said, get up. And I said, and I went and got I don't usually take a bath, but kind of like lazy to take a bath. Let me wake up, Dad. Because I've been up on Coast to Coast AM, probably drank a 6-pack of beer to stay up. That's what I use for stimulant. Beer works like that on me as a stimulant, not a depressant. And I never was a drinker until I started staying up all night and working. And he goes, all right, fine. He leaves at like 7:30. And I left right behind him. And about an hour before, he calls on the cell phone. And he goes, I'm pulling up now. She just died. So he wasn't there with us. Well, not because of me. I'll get out of bed. But the point is, I knew she was going to die, and I wasn't there. But the point is, I knew, so there's a sixth sense. And I can tell you right now, the enemy is collapsing as we speak. It's a big moment for America. Probably won't see it in our lifetimes again. And they still might come from behind, but I'm telling you, the enemy is falling right now. This is a big time, folks. This is like the new July 4th, whatever day this is. January 3rd. I'm telling you, right now, I think the enemy's broken. I can feel it. It's like you can feel the energy lowering. I think they've given up. David Knight, I don't mean to get into all this intense stuff, but go ahead.
Yeah, you know, Alex, when you were talking to Steve Pieczenik, and he was pointing out what was happening, he said the New York Times even is talking now about Obama and how he persecuted journalists. This is something we've been talking about for a very long time. I mean, before Christmas, I mentioned it yet again about how Obama has put more people, journalists and whistleblowers, persecuted them, prosecuted them under the Espionage Act of 1917 than all of the presidents in the last 100 years combined. And so people understand this. And you look at this graphic that's on the New York Times, they've got a whistle with an Obama symbol on the round part, and on the part that you stick in your mouth to blow, they've got spikes all over it. And so even the New York Times is pulling back. But the thing that really stuck out to me, Alex, over the weekend were these couple of stories about the Washington Post. And, of course, we had Mikhail Thalen on it right away saying, they're saying that the Russians have taken over and hacked our power grid. But let's take a look at what really happened. It was just a virus that was on one laptop that wasn't even attached to the power grid up in Vermont. And so that was the reality. We exposed that right away. We have another story up on InfoWars now from RT breaking that down in addition. But then at the same time, Alex, we had the editor from the Washington Post go on Face the Nation, or maybe we should call it Two-Face the Nation, because that's what they are. They're two-faced.
telling these lies with other people. Of course, he had David Frum, who is this never-Trumper, a part of the Bush neocon establishment, always pushing for war, pushing the Russian agenda again. And they were wringing their hands about how Donald Trump had put in all of these businessmen and generals who they said didn't have any political experience. And you know what? It's not a problem if we have a general like Eisenhower or like George Washington.
Is getting back to America. David, take over.
That's
Great
right.
job with the crew. Hey, we're not out of the woods yet, but I'm telling you, the tide's turning because they know we're not bluffing. They know we've got the intel that'll bring them down no matter what they do. Barring a nuclear war, the globalists are done, and that'll end them as well.
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight, your host on this fourth hour. It's good to be back, and as I was talking to Alex and looked at the news over the weekend, it was absolutely amazing to see that at the same time, the Washington Post was selling this irresponsible lie about the Russians hacking our power supply. They were also, our power grid, they were also going on Face the Nation and talking about how dangerous InfoWars and Donald Trump were. Truly amazing. And of course, as I mentioned, David Frum, the Bush neocon who never saw a war that he didn't support, wringing their hands about the fact that Donald Trump has appointed some generals. As I pointed out in the last segment, you know, we've had some good generals as president. We've had George Washington. We've had Andrew Jackson. We had Eisenhower, who warned us about the military-industrial complex, did more to stop it than any of the civilian people that we've had since then, because we've seen the military-industrial complex advancing. And these same people, these neocons, who have supported setting the Middle East on fire so they can bring in a mass exodus of people who do not want to be a part of our culture. We're going to talk about that in a moment. These same people who have supported the militarization of the police and the centralization of all police control out of Washington, these same people are talking about how it's awful that Donald Trump has generals there. But I want to take a look at some of the details of what they said, because it was very interesting what the Washington Post editor said, as well as Michelle Norris of the Race Card Project. I couldn't believe that's what she calls it. I don't know what the Race Card Project is, but that's basically what they're playing all the time. And after I talk about this, I also want to talk about what happened today with draining the swamp. I think Donald Trump made a huge step towards draining the swamp today. I was very happy to see what happened. We're also going to talk about how the Muslims rang in the New Year from Turkey throughout Europe as well. But real quickly, I want to go back to this story about the Washington Post editor who is complaining about the fact that Donald Trump will be on message, he says, for 7 days, and all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, he reads InfoWars, and he tweets some stuff out that he says can tank markets and invite incursions. What was the Washington Post doing at the same time? They were trying to start a war with Russia, saying that we've got them hacking our power grid, underscoring the phony narrative that they've been pushing for Obama all of this time, that the Russians have been doing everything, saying we need to have sanctions, we need to take some actions. This is the irresponsible behavior of the Washington Post. At the same time, they're complaining about InfoWars. And, of course, at that time, we were exposing it. We had a great story right away from Mikhail Phelan at InfoWars. Then we had this woman from the Race Card Project talking about how bad it was that they didn't have control of the media. And I want to read you this quote that she said. She says, as journalists, we have to learn how to operate in a world where there is no longer a common set of facts. Think about that. What's she saying? She's not really saying that you've got your facts, I've got my facts. No, there's one set of facts, folks. People can have opinions, and we can argue about that in the free market of ideas. But see, they didn't have a free market of ideas. I grew up in a time when we had ABC, CBS, NBC, and NPR, and that was it. And they were all reading off of a government script. They all covered the same stories. They all had the same take on the same stories. They never questioned the government's official story. Never questioned it, no matter how absurd it was. If you questioned it, if you questioned the magic bullet that killed JFK, then you were a conspiracy theorist. That's where that came from. That was to shut down any questioning of the common set of facts that were coming out of our common government propaganda. So that's what they don't like. They don't like the fact that they don't control the agenda. That's what she's talking about when she says there's no more common facts. Then she goes on and says people get their news in such a way that it usually affirms or confirms everything they already believe. Now, the phrase for that is a confirmation bias. See, they say, you've got a bias, and you're going to be drawn to news that confirms your bias. And I would say, well, what about your bias? What about the bias of the Race Card Project? What about the bias of the Washington Post or the New York Times? You see, they have a bias as well. There's two types of people, those who acknowledge their bias and those who don't. And they are deceiving either themselves or you when they don't acknowledge their bias. They're biased in terms of what they even choose to report on. That reflects your own personal bias. What you think is important, what you don't think is important, what you agree with, what you totally reject out of hand. And I'm telling you, we are better positioned at InfoWars to fight the Washington Post and the New York Times because they have existed in an environment for a very long time where no one questioned their pronouncements. No matter how blatantly naked the emperor was, nobody ever said he doesn't have any clothes. We were over here saying, he's got no clothes, and here's why. Look, there's this, there's this, there's this, and we used their own sources, and we footnoted our own information because we knew that it was something that was different from what you were hearing. We knew it was going to be criticized as a conspiracy theory or as a tinfoil hat idea. So we documented it. So we're ready for this. We've been doing this for a long time, and we've been going against the mainstream media's fake news for a very long time and documenting why it is fake. So we're loaded for bear. We're ready for this battle. We're ready for this info war. Then they go on to say, the bad news is, she says, somebody is about to occupy the Oval Office who is trying to bypass us, the mainstream media, and go directly to the public. Oh, my. Oh, my. Isn't that horrible? That's exactly what is going to happen. So let's take a look at what happened today. Because we get all this back and forth. Is Trump for real? Is Trump going to drain the swamp? Is he going to stand up to the corruption? What was the very first thing that the Republicans did today? Well, the Republicans, as the Washington Post points out, in their first full day of power in 2017, what was their first order of business? House Republicans came close to gutting an independent ethics committee, one that was set up in the wake of scandals that arguably cost them power a decade ago. And so the first thing they did was not to cut taxes, not to cut regulations, not to get rid of the Obamacare mandates. Their first act was, let's get rid of the independent ethics panel. That was Republicans. And, of course, Nancy Pelosi gloated about that, said so much for draining the swamp, she tweeted out. But Donald Trump came back and said, with all that Congress has to work on, do they really have to make the weakening of the independent ethics watchdog, as unfair as it may be, their number one act and priority? Focus on tax reform, on health care, on so many other things of far greater importance. And I got to say, for Nancy Pelosi to come out here and say so much for draining the swamp, the chief alligator who's been swimming around that swamp forever. And we're going to talk about here, I want to remind you of Nancy Pelosi's ethics issues, okay? It's not just the Republicans. Yes, they're in there as well. It's a bipartisan swamp. And the good thing about it was that Donald Trump came out with that, slammed them on that issue. And as the Hill points out, the GOP had an emergency meeting because Donald Trump complained about it, and they withdrew that proposal after their emergency meeting. This is very good news. This is the very first thing that we've seen Donald Trump going against the Republicans and saying, no, we're going to drain the swamp. We're not going to let you put off the real business of government, the real things that we have said we were going to do as we got elected as conservatives or libertarians. No, you're going to cut the ethics oversight. That's your first order of business. Absolutely amazing. But I want you to remember what Nancy Pelosi and Obama did when confronted with this. Let's remember where this all started. And, of course, going back again to this Washington Post article, they say, well, what is the Office of Congressional Ethics? It's an independent body. It's the first independent body that they've created that oversees and investigates ethics. And I have 4 Republicans, 4 Democrats. None of them can be current members of Congress. They cannot be employees of the federal government. They're trying to get some independence here a little bit, okay? A lot of it is just, a mask, and we'll show you why this is a mask. Nevertheless, as they talk about increasing transparency and providing information to the public, we're going to tell you what really happens with that. But even this beard over their ethical problems, the Republicans wanted to get rid of today. And this all goes back to the time that Jack Abramoff was in Congress and the corruption that we had there under the House Speaker and pedophile Dennis Hastert. And as the Washington Post goes in, they talk about Republican problems, of course, because they're very partisan. They talk about Tom DeLay. They talk about the Abramoff lobbying scandal under Hastert. They talk about Mark Foley, who had to resign amidst allegations that he had sent sexually explicit messages to congressional pages, as well as other bribery scandals. But then there was also some things with Democrats. We had Alan Grayson, who was caught by this ethics office. They said he may have improperly used his house office to handle a family-run hedge fund. There were 10 lawmakers. Some of their spouses took all expenses paid trips to the Caspian Sea in 2013, secretly funded by a state-owned oil company of Azerbaijan. You know, what about all these congressmen that get junkets to Turkey paid for by Fethullah Gulen's organization? No investigation of that. So they're very selective about what they want to look at. They're also selective about the partisan aspects of it. But let's go back to 2011, and let's remember what happened then. We had Nancy Pelosi in a 60 Minutes investigation. Now, this is information that had been given to them by the Hoover Institute. This is a conservative organization. They'd done some investigation. They gave it to Steve Kroft with 60 Minutes. And in 2011, November 2011, he had a very pointed exchange with Nancy Pelosi. And at that time, people realized that Nancy Pelosi and her husband had participated in at least 8 IPOs. That's initial public offerings. That's where you take a private company public, and usually the owners make a killing off of the increase in stock. Anybody who is able to get in on that IPO before it hits the trading floor usually makes a fortune. And so they were able to participate in at least 8 IPOs, and they had access to information that was directly relating to the companies involved. The point is that if they had been a private party, they would have been hit with massive prison sentences and fines. You know, kind of like Hillary Clinton would have gone to prison for her email security violations if she had been anybody other than Hillary Clinton. But this is what the people we learned after this came out with Nancy Pelosi and her husband. We learned that there was no rule that Congress couldn't engage in insider trading. Now, remember, we had some very high-profile cases of people going to jail for very minor violations of insider trading. It's something that the SEC watches like a hawk and sends celebrities to prison on a regular basis, but not Congress. So this became a very big scandal. And in response, they passed something called the Stock Act. Stop Trading on Congressional Knowledge Act. I love how they come up with these hokey acronyms. They always do this. And the interesting thing was they enacted this to cover up this scandal. They said, all right. Yeah, Nancy Pelosi and her husband made a fortune doing insider trading, but it wasn't against the rules because we exempted ourselves from those rules, you see. And so then what they did was they said, we'll fix it. We're going to make sure that doesn't happen. We're going to create this Stock Act. So they do that in April of 2000, they do that in 2011, and then in April of 2013, they modify it. In other words, they eviscerated it when nobody was looking. So they waited about 8 or 9 months, and after making a big fanfare about how they're going to fix the insider trading that is engaged on by members of Congress, then they come back on April the 15th, 2011. They introduced a bill from Harry Reid, of all people, and he put this to the Senate. They passed it by unanimous consent. It got 14 seconds of consideration before being passed by unanimous consent. And what did they do with that? Well, they removed the creation of searchable, sortable disclosure of the information. So much for transparency for the public, right? No, you're not going to be allowed to see what they do. And this is something I'm taking from opensecrets.org. Going back to April 15th, 2013, an action alert. Say, look, the Stock Act was just reversed, and it was signed by Obama, okay? He had no problem signing that. And so they took away the requirement of electronic filing for Congress. They took away the requirement of filing by the president or the vice president or the president's cabinet or congressional candidates, as well as high-level executive and congressional branch employees. In other words, all of these people in government don't have to file, and they can still engage in insider trading. So they came out with a beard piece of legislation. They waited about 8 or 9 months, and then they repealed it quietly. with 14 seconds of deliberation and did it unanimously by voice consent. And then Obama quietly signed it into law. Now, I want you to compare that to the feigned hand-wringing by Nancy Pelosi about the fact that the Republicans, as their first order of business, decided they wanted to get rid of Ethics Oversight Committee, the Independent Ethics Oversight Committee. And I want you to look at what Donald Trump did. He didn't quietly go along with this. He didn't sign this in the middle of the night like Obama did. Instead, he took to Twitter and he called him out on it. And he made them meet an emergency meeting to try to do damage control. This is a very, very positive sign. We keep getting more and more positive signs. And, of course, we see all these situations of people, businesses saying, hey, we're going to not build that $1.6 billion automobile factory. Ford said that down in Mexico. Instead, we're going to build a $700 million factory the United States. And all that is great news. We've seen a lot of great news. We've seen a lot of great optimism. And I'm telling you right now, when Obama starts talking about his record 4 years from now, and the Democrats start talking about that, they're going to look at when Obama took office in 2009, and they're going to say, look at how bad things were after the Federal Reserve engineered a burst of the economic balloon that they had created. And then look at how wonderful things were just before Obama left office. And they're going to ignore the fact deliberately that this stock market, this raging stock market, is a reaction to Donald Trump becoming president and the optimism about Donald Trump's presidency and nothing that Barack Obama did. But I'm telling you right now, we can write this down, come back to this 4 years from now when they're running, or, actually it'll be a little bit less than 4 years, they're going to pretend that Barack Obama did all of this stuff that is happening with Donald Trump. All the stuff that happened with the stock market and everything else. And, of course, we know that the system is working overtime to try to burst the bubble that they've been creating in terms of low interest rates. They've announced already 1 interest rate increase and another 3 next year. So they're going to try to burst this. But just remember where this is coming from, because we're going to have to fight that battle in about 3 years when they start running for president again. I want to take a look at what the Muslims did over New Year's Eve. We had this Istanbul attack where a guy came in dressed as Santa Claus on New Year's Eve. We're looking at this, and my wife and I are Santa Claus on New Year's Eve, and they're saying they're fighting against a Christian holiday. And we're like, they don't even understand the culture that they hate so much. And I'm going to tell you why they hate this culture so much. I'm going to tell you what happened in Cologne. I'm going to tell you what happened at Germany's oldest church in Dortmund. This is a story that the Germans still aren't talking about, just like last year. They didn't want to talk about what happened in Cologne on New Year's Eve. We're going to tell you about both of those when we come back. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight, and I want to talk about how the Muslims celebrated New Year's throughout Europe and Turkey over the weekend. Of course, we all heard about the attack in Istanbul, the shooting there done by a man dressed as Santa Claus, saying that he was coming after our Christian holiday. And as I was starting to say in the last segment, I thought of it. I never thought of New Year's as being a Christian holiday. But then I looked it up, and it's like, yeah, the Muslims have a different calendar. See, their first year is what we would call 622, year of our Lord. Okay, so that was the year that was a year of significance for something that Muhammad did. And that's where they began their first year. So for them, when we say that this is 2017, and we try to date that as close as we can to the birth of Christ, our Lord, then that is an offense to them. And so they take that as a cue, as a reason to go slaughter people in the streets. Because if they don't agree with your religion, then that's what they do. And the subtitle of this article that we have up at InfoWars, talking about looking back at Cologne, where we had a large attack on New Year's Eve last year that was covered up by the Cologne police for several months. We look at this, and the subtitle was, Germany continues its terrifying descent into multicultural hell. And I got to say, this is not going to be a multicultural hell just for Christians. It's going to be a hell for Christians. It's going to be a hell for atheists. It's going to be a hell for feminists. It's going to be a hell for LGBT. It's going to be a hell for anybody who doesn't toe their cult of death. Because that's what it is. It's a sacrament of death. And as I looked at some of these things, my wife and I were talking about this, and of course she was at the event where we were protesting the abortion clinic, and the people came up to my wife and said, I kill my kids. They bragged about that. And as we were talking about this, I said, that is the commonality between the Democrat left and the Muslims, because they hate feminists, they hate LGBT, which the Democrats say they love these groups. And yet, the only common ground that I can discern is that they're both cults of death. The Democrats view abortion as a sacrament, and the Muslims see their ability to strike back against our culture, especially in the expression of the Christian religion, as a sacrament as well. This story at InfoWars talks about how the police in Cologne are still pandering in a servile manner to these thugs who attacked everybody last year. They tweeted out in Arabic a warm welcome to New Year's Eve 2016 in Cologne. They said at no other time in recent months have they ever tweeted in Arabic. Now, to remind you, the article says in Cologne there was a site of 1,300 crimes during the New Year's Eve celebration 1 year ago, including 650 sexual assaults and 28 rapes. How's that for protecting women? You want to say you're about protecting women, Hillary? Democrats? The vast majority of these offenses were carried out by migrant men of Arab and African origin, as video footage and eyewitness accounts revealed. Of the few suspects identified by police at the time, more than half were asylum seekers. Now, what happened this year? We had a 1,000-man mob attack Germany's oldest church in Dortmund, Germany. And they were shouting Allah Akbar as they set the church on fire. Now, this began at 7 p.m. A man was hospitalized, a homeless man, and group of homeless people. One man got a first-degree burn to his face after they were shooting and throwing fireworks at homeless people. That's how these guys began their celebration, because they have to attack the homeless. Okay, what about? And it said at least 1,000 young men began throwing fireworks into a crowd of visitors, which also included families with children. Asked by officers to stop, the mob turned to pelting fireworks at the police instead. See, this is the way this is going to go down. When you look at what we're offering here, what Alex is talking about, that's what I kept thinking about as I was looking at these articles I had about New Year's Eve. If you're not going to protect yourself, you are going to be at the mercy of these people. If they want to divorce themselves from the Nazis, why don't they start with repealing the Nazi Gun Control Act? That would be a first thing the Germans should do. Join us tonight for the InfoWars Nightly News.